magnificent place to have the finals for the NEC Solidarity E-Race Challenge this evening. I cannot wait, and I think we're in for some incredible driving as well, and maybe one or two incidents.
Sash, let me tell you something. I spent the last 4 hours doing bits and pieces with a couple of the drivers leading up with some of the promo videos that we put together. And I got to spend some time with the man who's on pole this evening, Luke Lachesi. I also had a look and check with Michael Stephen. And then straight out of that, we went live and a little bit of onboard and track action with Leslie Oliphant. Both Michael and Luke were in dry, ideal conditions. When we got to Leslie, the rain came down like a torrential downpour, like a Thursday afternoon. In fact, a Wednesday afternoon here in Johannesburg when we used to play cricket. It was that bad. But it just throws in a completely different aspect to the racing, which we haven't dealt with yet in this. And that is weather is a major, major factor here this evening.
Well, I think exactly. I mean, is it going to be a dry race? Is it going to be a wet race? Could rain come during the race? And I suppose we're talking about the main event, and that, of course, will be the endurance race, which will be our third race. We've got two races before that, Greg, but can the weather change when it wants to?
That's exactly the setting they've gone with. So it's basically just an automatic weather setting. And what you need to do as part of your race strategy is you need to sort of get into the weather app that's available on the game and be watching that the entire time, as you would at a normal racetrack, as you would, for instance, at Kyle Army with the 9 hour. You know, everybody was on their phones and on every single weather app available and listening to whatever was available in terms of local knowledge. And no one expected it to come down like it did for almost 4 hours. I think there was a session that was 2 hours under safety car. So there's no safety car in this game. It's literally get your butt out there on the tires that are provided. It is declared a wet race as well, so they have an option to come in. And remember, they've also got to come in for a mandatory pit stop and tire change. Now, I'm hoping that everybody out there has gone and practiced that, because it's not the easiest thing to do in this game, I can tell you.
Yeah, definitely. And the whole thing about it is you might be able to get that mandatory pit stop when the weather changes, if the weather changes. Otherwise, you might go into tires and 2 laps later, all of a sudden, the weather changes. So the strategies are going to be quite phenomenal to watch. And I think if the race, definitely see the separation from the men and the boys, the true sim racers and those who maybe just do 1 or 2 hours during the week.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, listen, we can't go and do all of this without the help of our sponsors, and a massive thanks to all of them. But it also gives me great pleasure to bring in Francois-Remy Monnier from NEC. We didn't get to see him in person last time. It was via a WhatsApp call, if I recall. But we've managed to get him hooked up on VMix. So good evening to you, and welcome, sir. It's lovely to have you here and to actually see you in the flesh.
Yes, good evening, Greg. Good evening, Sasha. It's also very nice for me to be also able to speak to you guys after 10 days.
Francois, great to have you. I mean, your sponsorship is just so welcomed. Without people like yourself and NEC, of course, we wouldn't be able to put on these kind of events. What have you thought so far of the quality and caliber of racing over the last 6 days? Even, of course, the first Solidarity E-Race.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed, and I do believe the fact that, like what you mentioned, now you have some things to look after, like the rain, the weather conditions. Tonight, you're going to have some pit stop. I think it will force all the drivers to be very nimble and very agile, which is a bit similar to the way we need to tackle life nowadays. To be able to be nimble and agile, otherwise we'll go and hit straight a wall. So I'm very happy to see all the changes that have taken place on those races.
Francois, from NEC's point of view, once again, are you guys happy with the coverage and with the amount of leverage you've been able to get from the sponsorship?
Yes, we are very happy in terms of the coverage we got. We are thrilled to be with you. It's had a huge visibility inside NEC in terms of taking some new lead to provide some advertisements. So really, we are very, very happy to have been your partner, and very proud and privileged to do this in South Africa as well.
It's just so wonderful to hear. And as the whole world is in lockdown, France also being decimated by COVID-19 and this coronavirus, are things beginning to ease up a little bit, Francois? Is there a lot more hope within the country?
Yes, so in like 2 weeks, on May the 11th, we should enter like similar to your stage 4 in South Africa. So people will be able to go more freely outside their house, start to do a bit of social, seeing friends. For all the women which are listening to us, they will be able to go back to the hairdresser, which I think they will make a fortune in May and June. So no, it's good. And also, I think it's highlights the fact that we are social animals, and that the true luxury of even doing business, like I do in South Africa, is the human relationship that you can build upon time. And I think this COVID period is all about communication in different ways. Also, if we are apart physically, we are all together, I think, as souls, and united as people. So there is some very positive stuff.
It's great to hear the positivity coming from your side as well. We're looking forward to our hopeful stage 4 on Friday, and it also comes at a pretty apt time in the country's calendar as well. We've just celebrated Freedom Day, and on Friday we celebrate Workers' Day. So it's quite apt that on Workers' Day, the workers are not going to be taking a public holiday, but actually physically going back into the workforce. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of people are going to have that opportunity, which is great. Francois, from the NEC side of things, we want to just say a massive thank you, because without you, we couldn't have done what we've done. We've raised nearly 50,000 Rand towards the Solidarity Fund. So it's a massive effort that's been put in from the entire team, and thanks to you guys.
No, and I really look forward to have the borders reopened so I can fly back again to South Africa, which is a country I love. I've got a soul star then. So I really look forward to see you guys in person.
Well, I must say, Francois, hopefully by then we'll be able to buy some liquor and we can toast over a glass of wine.
Yeah, we'll get. I will bring the wine. You take the Jägermeister.
Okay, super.
Well, sir, all the very best, and thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your time, and please sit back and enjoy the entertainment that we're about to bring you.
I will do. Thanks.
Merci. All the best. Take care. Sash, hey, what an awesome man to have on board. I mean, you can see just how excited he is about the product that he's got, and how excited he is about sharing that product with us and partnering up with us.
Yeah, wonderful. And of course, NEC being a major sponsor in the world of Formula One over the years as well, especially with the Sauber team. So, they know about speed, they know about precision, they know about professionalism. So it's just wonderful to have that kind of professionalism together with us on the Solidarity E-Race, Greg. We've really got superb partners with us, and hopefully they have enjoyed as much as we've been able to bring to them.
I think they have. That's why they've stuck with us, and that's why they're so happy with the coverage so far. But of course, speaking of coverage, we need to start getting into that coverage, because I believe that the servers are open for some practices, final practices at this magnificent circuit down under. It's the home of the Bathurst 1000, of course, which our friend who's going to be joining us a bit later on, Jordan Pepper, and his team were actually proud winners of at the beginning of this year. So we've got someone who's actually had the experience of driving a real race car flat out around here and taking a victory and being on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan is just such a terrific driver. And I think for those who maybe remember him from his Polo Cup days, and then, of course, he went to Europe and then signed up with Bentley and would have seen him at the 9-hour at Kyalami. This kid is just unbelievable. And to get that win in Bathurst earlier this year for himself and for Bentley was just, I mean, I was just sending him messages. I nearly had tears in my eyes. Just so wonderful to see him going there out and winning. And then, of course, we've had the Calvins and the Sheldons also doing incredible things all over the world. But Bathurst is such a challenging circuit, Greg. This is really a test of some real skill.
Yeah, it's a proper racetrack, isn't it? I mean, I was chatting to Michael Stephen, and he was saying just how difficult it is to get into the car and learn the game. Now he's got to try and learn a circuit that is arguably one of the most difficult in the world. I don't know if you've ever caught any of the action that's come out of the V8 supercars that run down there, or, I mean, you would have seen Intercontinental GT Championship there too. But when those V8 supercars run there, it is absolute chaos. It's mind-blowing. And the way they run up and down the side of that mountain and the speeds that they get into. I mean, we were chatting this afternoon, as I said, with Luc Lachesi, and he was saying, you know, a big factor at the circuit is the top-end speed of the cars. And that's why he's decided to run the Mercedes-Benz. It might be a bit more difficult for the guys in other makes and other manufacturers, for instance, Bashir Jadwat in the Audi, or potentially Michael Stephen in the V8 Vantage. It's such a crucial thing that's got to be taken into account here. And even chatting to Leslie Oliphant, he was saying, watching a couple of the YouTube videos of the circuit, the Ferrari and the Honda seem to also have a great top end. So it's going to be a bit of a fight here. I don't think too much in the sprint race, because remember what we saw at Kyalami, there was a lot of sort of umming and ahhing and aces up the sleeve that weren't there. But in the big one later on this evening, man, we're going to be in for a great spectacle.
Yeah, it's going to be a tremendous amount of mental concentration from everybody, especially in the enduro race later on today. But I mean, there are some the circuit itself, you know, just the way it undulates. And for a lot of people, we're going to get some pictures of the circuit right now, and there it is. But this circuit is basically a street circuit in a way, and you know, these roads are open to the public when there's no racing. It climbs up and down, and incredibly from the bottom of the circuit to the top of the circuit, you can see the undulations there, is 174 meters, Greg. That's like 600 feet of climbing. So it's a spectacular circuit. Got some blind rises, got some negative camber corners, and this massively long Afri-Host Conrad Straight, which is just incredible. I mean, they put a chicane in there a few years ago to make it shorter, because at one stage it's close to 2 kilometers long, and cars were taking off over the bumps. So it really is a fascinating place, but not easy to overtake, Greg.
That's the thing. I mean, if you look at the footage that went out in some of the promo videos, or you just look at the footage that we just seen now with that Aston Martin of Nick Hodgson making his way around, you'll see that it's exceptionally tight, and the walls kind of start to close in on you. You know, you sort of get that effect where everything just comes in at a rapid rate, and you don't realize how much space you've got or don't have in certain sectors of this track. You were mentioning that Conrad Straight. Yeah, they put in the pure storage chase chicane at the end, just to slow it down. And then, of course, you go into Murray's Corner and across the main straight. But the bottom end of the track is literally a left, straight, left, and back up to the mountain again. So on a similar vein to the shirt I had on last night, the Isle of Man TT, it's exactly the same kind of feeling. You know, you've got a situation where you can be on one side of the hill and it's raining, and on the other side dry. That's also another factor that can come into play.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of Spa, you know, similar in length, you know, it's 6.2 kilometers long. Spa is 7 kilometers long, so it's only 800 meters difference. But as you say, Murray's Corner could be dry, and right up at Selman Park, it can be wet. So these drivers are really going to have to watch those radars very, very carefully if and when the rain comes.
I just love the fact that they brought that factor in for this time. It just changes the whole race strategy, the whole look and feel of what you want to do out there. And as I said, I hope a lot of these drivers in our top 30 and even in the plate final, okay, they don't have to worry about doing the pit stops. But the guys that are in the main finals tonight, GF1 and GF2, they must have gone and practiced coming into the pit lane, doing the tire change and getting out.
Yeah, of course. And what is going to be so critical, as it is in any kind of race, is going to be the start. Going into turn one into Hell Corner, very, very tight left-hander, Greg. And, it's notorious for having loads of accidents. The guys are going to have to be very careful going through there, because you can easily lose a race in the first corner. Not very often do you win a race in a first corner.
Well, I say that, and then I'm going to say to you, but hang on a second. Let's look at the kind of strategy we got out of those first couple of drivers. If you look at what just Bashir Jadwat did last night, he got to the front, disappeared. Luke Lachesi got to the front, defended, kept everybody back. Zaire Essa got to the front at Kyle Army, defended for a while, then disappeared. Because if you can just bridge that gap away from the pack behind you and they start fighting, there's a good possibility that you can maybe hang on, because there are very little opportunities to pass here.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm just saying, if somebody gets into turn one cleanly, but then behind there's all of a sudden these huge accidents, then the person who's in front is really going to have a massive advantage. But it's amazing that you mentioned the Mercedes power. Our top 8 cars, 7 Mercedes and only 1 Audi. And you know what? With the circuit, very much like a roller coaster, up and down, you need that torque power. And I think that's the main advantage that the Mercedes has over the likes of the Audi. But the straight line speed through the Conrad Straight could benefit the likes of, I think, the Bentleys. Even though they're starting further down, they could have quite a bit of grunt coming out of there. And you never know, the Ferrari could be a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, well, that's why Ulrich Enslin, the man who won the first Solidarity race, has gone with that as an option. He decided to go with that 488, and as we join the circuit, Sash, have a look. We got a bit of rain.
Whoa. Wow,
so
I can't believe it. Maybe they're going to start off wet.
The rain is already coming down here for pre-practice, and we've got a sprint race and a 14-minute, it's about a 20-lapper mini endurance race coming up this evening, along with the plate final happening in between. All of it, of course, up for the big prize fund that's available here. The prize fund, of course, 50,000 Rand that's up for grabs, a share of that. The winner, of course, of the plate final takes 2,000 Rand. The winner of the sprint race, the first GF1, will be taking that 300 gigs LTE and router. And then don't forget, it's 12,000 Rand and a gig LTE and router, courtesy of AfriHost. That is a huge, huge prize fund to be fighting for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic. Oh, as you can see, the rain playing a havoc. That Porsche, well, there we go. Went
going completely off.
Make the corner. Yeah, didn't make it at all. So, I mean, these conditions are so difficult. It's the first time they're most probably experiencing these rain conditions. So it's really going to be interesting if this rain is still there for the first sprint race.
I love it when you get it a bit sideways. That's the way to do it. Nice one there, Mr. Langeveld. Love your work. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of slipping and sliding. Here they come down into Murray's corner, the last corner on the circuit to complete the lap. And looks like Langeveld in the Mercedes-Benz. A lot of guys going for that Mercedes-Benz as an option. Good option here, particularly here, of course, at Bathurst and this incredible circuit. Chris Shorter also making his round to the track there. Just picked up on his car. Looks like also Devin Leisha's out on circuit. So there's a lot of guys that are starting to put in early laps to see what conditions are going to be like if it is raining and if it stays raining for the entire race.
Yeah, and I mean, guys like Chris Shorter, who made it through in the wild card, going to be starting very close to the back. Oh, and the Porsche and the Mercedes just really all over each other. Oh, unbelievable stuff what these guys are doing in the practice sessions. They're going to have have their wits about them when we do go racing in the sprint and, of course, the endurance race a little bit later.
There is Michael Stephen, man we spoke about earlier on this evening and also spoke to earlier on in the day. He's looking forward. He was actually quite excited to see if it rained. He said about 2.5 hours. He wanted to go on for about half an hour and then spent about 2.5 hours because he was having so much fun in the rain around the circuit. Right behind him, if I'm not mistaken, is Morgan McCall. So not a bad little run there from the two of them in the Aston Martins. Those two cars will also be factors to be taken into account if there's chaos into turn one, as you mentioned. There could be a very good possibility whoever gets away and gets away cleanly could potentially hang on. But then we've got to take into account and tell everybody that we do have a mandatory pit stop that has to come in. And if that mandatory pit stop gets done, they've got to take into account weather conditions, Are they going to come in early to change tires and have to go in again and change tires again if they've gone from slicks to wets or wets to slicks, etc.? Oh man, there's just so much to think about tonight. It's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, this is just amazing. Just watching the guys going through and you can see, I mean, just losing it on the straight, too much on the power. You know, that car's just going to oversteer right. There we go, just oversteers. Too much power going out of that exit. So in these treacherous conditions, you really have to feather that throttle. You're going to have to, back off a little bit when it comes to your speeds. And of course, your braking points and braking markers are going to change quite significantly in the wet conditions. That looks similar, very similar to the corkscrew there from Laguna Seca. And of course, that's going through the dipper, the Data Sciences dipper. So there's so many attributes about this track, Greg, that have taken from other circuits around the world. It's quite spectacular.
Yeah, it is. It really, really is. I'm seeing some of the action that I've seen, of course, in V8 Supercars with the Intercontinental GT Championship that happened here with Jordan. And now, of course, with our guys out there. The cool thing about what we did this afternoon with our promo videos for this event was we got to go on board with a couple of the drivers as well and see it from the driver's point of view. And when you're in the cockpit of these cars, particularly in the wet weather conditions this afternoon with Leslie, it was pretty spectacular. I mean, you watch those windscreen wipers working flat out, but the visibility is like hardly anything. It's so true to life, this game, and it just makes for absolutely amazing entertainment.
It's so much fun to be part of it. And I mean, I've got chills here just watching these guys going out in the rain, and I'm watching sim racing, and it's like feels like it's like those are real cars out there. It's just wonderful. We're on board with Dewald Brimmer. He's going to go out there for another lap. They've got 8 minutes left of this practice session. And they're going to have to try and learn so much about the circuit in those 8 minutes. We're with Alaric Enselin. Of course, he was our winner in our first Solidarity E-Race last week. He's currently 4th on the timesheets in the Ferrari 488. He's going to start pretty low down on the grid here this evening. Down, I think it's 17th. In 13th position, Greg. So,
yep.
And he's lost it as well. So even the best can make mistakes.
You know, that's the factor that's going to come into play here. It doesn't matter who you are or how good you are. Weather certainly plays a big factor, and we chatted about it between the three drivers this afternoon too, saying, that rain usually is a leveler. It brings everybody down to the same level, and everybody has to sort of play around with fiddling the throttle, easier on the brakes, higher gear changes. Don't go down into the low gears. You won't be using first and second at all on the circuit usually, but you definitely aren't going to touch it in the wet. You're going to be playing around in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's where you're going to be looking to get the best out of these cars. And as you can see, just watching a couple of guys heading up that very incredible NEC mountain straight. And that's what can happen. That is exactly what can happen.
Yeah,
and then other factor,
Leon
of course,
van Wyk, you could see. Yeah, sorry, Leon van Wyk was getting the pressure from Michael Steven and then lost it completely on the straight. So, this is just... It's going to be nail-biting. I cannot wait for them to start.
And the one factor that we didn't really speak about last night, Sash, but I saw it on a few occasions, was exactly what you just happened there. If a barrier gets tapped or a cone gets hit or something gets broken off the cars, it's the one thing that this game does not allow to be recovered. You don't see a marshal running on to remove that barrier or remove the cone or whatever. It stays there until somebody actually goes and cuts it off somewhere else. So that's another big aspect to take into account here. That if barriers or bits and pieces fly onto the circuit, they stay there until another car actually physically removes them, or they just keep avoiding it every single time they come down to it.
I mean, it's just, you guys got to watch out for everything. This is a man to watch. Zahir Essa this evening, I think this is a guy to watch very carefully. He's going to start 4th on the grid. He's got Bashir in front of him, and Luke is going to start 3rd in the grid, sorry. And he's got Luke Lukesi and Bashir Jadwat in front of him. I tell you, those top 3 going into turn 1, it's going to be very, very hairy. 2 Mercs versus an Audi.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at that grid, Sash, which we'll get into a bit later on as they finish up the session, but you're literally looking at the top 7. 6 of them are Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3s. 1 is an Audi R8 LMS Evo. And then behind the top 9, you've got 2 Honda NSX Evos. and then another Mercedes-Benz. And then only do we see Michael Stephen and Stuart White in the two Aston Martin Racing V8 Vantages.
Yeah, very much so. You know, the guys have chosen their weapons and they are ready to go. But I think just, you know, Michael Stevens, Stuart White, Alaric Enselin, those three are just going to be fascinating to watch. You know, two of them are some of the best racing drivers South Africa have ever produced in terms of street racing. And then you've got one of the top sim racers in the world up against them as well. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. I'm looking forward to it. And as we get into the closing stages of this practice session, also looking at a few guys at the back end of the field we may need to keep an eye on. Because remember, just in that pack at the moment, I think he might have pulled in the pit lane. No, he's still out there. Bruno Cadilia. He's the man who finished third at Kyle Army. And there we go. The session is almost ready to start, Sash. So they're all lined up and good to go now for race one. This, of course, is grand final number one here at the Mount Panorama Circuit down under in Australia, mate. And the home of the Bathurst 1000 now becomes the home of the NEC Solidarity E-Race version 2.1.
We got 30 cars on track for this. Of course, however they finish will determine how they will start in the Enduro race this afternoon. We're going to go have a lap of the 6.2 kilometer track. It has a climb of 174 meters from the lowest part of the circuit to the top part of the circuit, which is right up at Forest's Elbow. And it's got the crazy Afrihost Conrad Straight, which runs for about 1.9 kilometers. And then, of course, it's got the Pure Storage, the Chase, which is sort of just slows it down a little bit, Greg. It's a wonderful, wonderful circuit. And the guys are going to have to work really hard to keep themselves from crashing into the walls. It's going to be some serious driving there.
Just getting some information coming through from Jordan Pepper. He's going to be joining us just after the plate final. He's actually going to come and join us for a bit of a chat, and he may stay on to help us out with the commentary in the big race too. He's going to just see if time allows, and of course data allows him to. We're hoping that he can. The practice server has also opened up, and we're now almost good to go for the first race, as we've seen. So they're just lining up there, and we're going to run through the grid for you. Mercedes-Benz on pole position. That is Luc Lachessi. He's the man who finished second overall in the top 100 and won his semi-final last night. So he's the best finisher out of those two overall. Bashir Jadwat also taking a victory last night. He, of course, finished up in third place in the original top 100. A great effort from him, and he's on the front row alongside Luc Lachessi. Then it's Zaire Essa, and Zaire Essa becomes the second of the Real Racers alongside a third man from Real Racing. That, of course, is Lorenzo Guarteri, and going in the Mercedes AMG. Jordan Sherritt just behind there, also looking good. He's fifth place alongside Langeveld. A great effort there from Christopher Langeveld. Morgan McCall and Krobler are up there. That's going to be a bit of a battle, I think, again. Remember, JC Krobler in the Honda NSX was very, very dangerous last night at the circuit he was involved in, and looked pretty tasty alongside his compatriot, also in a Honda, that, of course, being Leslie Oliphant. Oliphant is just behind him, though, and Charles Wilkin in the Hulk makes up the top 10.
Yeah, going further down the grid, we've got the two Aston Martins, Michael Stephen in 11th place, Stuart White in 12th place, and then last week's winner in the first of the Ferraris, the Ferrari 488 GT3, Alaric Enselin. He starts in 13th position. Christos Basson in the Audi will be in 14th. And lining up just behind Alaric Enselin will be Devon Piazza Musa in the Bentley, the first of the Bentley Continentals. That's in 15th place. Devon Leisha in 16th. Mark van Rensburg in the Bentley. He will be 17th. And 18th will be Bruno Cadilia in the Mercedes, as Greg mentioned a little earlier. 19th will be the Audi of Heinrich Oosthuizen. And in 20th, the Mercedes AMG GT3 of Leon van Wyk.
Wade Claessens makes up the next row with 21st alongside Heineke. And I think there's going to be some fun and games between the two of them. Gilbert Brummer in the Porsche. I think there's only one of two Porsches that are on the track for tonight. So he leads the Porsche battle at this point in time. And Brummer will be just ahead of Richard van Koller and Julian Familiaris. Now, Julian Familiaris had a little bit of issues. He's down in 25th place at the moment, so you won't see him on the screen. But 25th place there, had some bad luck. Remember, he was the man who was taken out unceremoniously as they went into turn one at Hungaroring. So he's looking to try and make amends, try and get up as high as he can in this sprint race, and then possibly sort himself out for a good opportunity and possibly even a win for the road racing fraternity out there, and of course for not only the Bridgestone and BMW Race Car Club Racing Series and the Mobil 1 V8 Racing Series that he races in both. So look out for him coming through there. Then you've got Mark Henbury in the Bentley, another Bentley of Nico Roots, Etienne Kleb in the V8 Vantage, and Chris Shorter, of course, probably the most unlucky man at this point in time, having to start right at the back there along with Rob Whiting. But both Shorter and Whiting were in the mix in both of the semi-finals. So certainly going to be having a look at those two and their progress to get up as high as possible to sort out a better grid position for the next one that comes up in a few hours' time.
Yeah, I tell you, these weather conditions really makes it very, very unpredictable. Anything can happen in these kind of conditions. So no matter where you're starting, if you've got a little bit of confidence, you've got a really, really good chance of progressing up the field. As you see, they're coming down the very, very long Afrihost-Conrad Straight. And there's serious rain out there.
Sorry to jump in, buddy, but I've just got a message straight from Michael Stephen. He, unfortunately, the game has made him do a pit lane start for whatever reason. So he's going to have to start from the pit lane, and he just sent me a message with the monkey holding his eyes closed saying that might be the safest option going into Hull Corner.
You know, it could be, and don't forget, I think this happened to Chris Shorter last night. Also, the game sat there and kicked him into the pit lane. These things do happen, and, you know, it's just one of those things. You're going to have to deal with it. But Michael Stevens starting from the pit lane might not be the worst start ever.
Here they come. They're starting to form up in the formation that they need to be in for this race start. Remember, we've got Mercedes-Benz and Audi on the front row. There's Michael Stephen in pit lane. So he'll have to wait until they all pass him before he can hit that start button and go. But as I said, it's not a bad option here, considering that there is rainy conditions, tricky conditions, slippery as hell as they get into Hull's Corner, that is for sure. But as they come out of Murray's now and they start to line up, they wait for that green light. When we get the green light, we go racing. It's NEC Solidarity E-Race, grand final number 1. It's the 10-lapper. 20 minutes of racing coming your way now. Stand by for big action as they head down towards turn 1 now. Who's going to have what it takes? Might be a little bit of a squeeze there, and I think there may have been a little bit of a jump start. We'll have to wait for that. I think Judwat might have been ahead, but no, didn't worry. Mercedes-Benz still squeezes up, and off the circuit goes Judwat. Judwat gets forced wide there by Lechesi. And in the background, there's a big move and straight into the wall by one of the Audis. I think that might have been Bashir who got knocked into the wall. But it's Mercedes-Benz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as they head to the top of the hill. And in 7th place, there, what a start coming out of the first of the Hondas. And that looks like it's JC Krobler.
I tell you, what an incredible start. Bashir Jadwan, I think he got the long shot on Zahir Essa, but neither of them gave each other space going into Hull's Corner. And Jadwat got sort of knocked off and then crashed himself out there as they go into Griffin's Bend and into the true storage cutting area. As you can see, very narrow. One of the Mercedes trying to find a little bit of grip. And Jordan Sherritt has made it into the front. So what a start for him, starting in 5th position. So he's done an incredible job.
He just tagged the wall there slightly, Stash. They came up to the top end of the hill and they came through the skyline. Now as they come through, this is the Data Sciences dipper. They go left, right, all the way down and into the very famous Forest Elbow. An incredible start there from Esther into 2nd. Guattari is 3rd. Langeveld is 4th. Luchesi, the pole man, dropped down to 5th place. After that incident between himself and the Audi, it looks like might be a little bit of a 15-second penalty there for JC Krobler at this point. We'll wait and see if that's going to be incurred. It might be taken away once our incredible stewards. And we've got 3 volunteer marshals here for this evening as well, Stash, which is great to have. We didn't have that at the last one. We only had the one steward here to try and take care of everything. But we've now got a full team in race control.
I tell you, Luke Lechesi nearly lost it over there. As now they're going to the pure storage, the chase after this long straight, the Conrad Straight. Of course, the Aprios Conrad Straight. They go there. It's unbelievable.
Krobler going off there, I think by the looks of things, he just got it out of shape in the Honda and went across the grass. I'm not quite sure if he recovered, but Zahir Essa now starting to close on the back end of Sherritt. That's 1 lap completed. Unbelievable stuff there in that first lap. Mercedes-Benz 1, 2, and 3 at this point, making 1 to 5 actually as they come through there. So Lechesi wasn't too far off in terms of his prediction. He said that the Mercs might have the grunt here for the circuit, and it looks like that is the case because the first 5 cars are all out of AMG. Behind that, we've got the Porsche of Devon Leisha. Didn't expect him to be so high up. Remember, Devin Leisha started out of the top 10 down in 16th place, and he's already up into that 6th spot. So he's made up 10 positions within that first lap. What a good drive. Probler down in 7th. Behind him is Leon van Beek. Then you've got Devin Piazza, Christos Besson, Kadelia, and Stuart White. Where is Michael Stephen? Has he been able to get up into the top 23? Not just yet.
Not just yet. I tell you, some fast and furious racing. I tell you, Sherrod coming out of Hell's Corner was a little bit sideways, but we're on board with Bruno Kadelia. He's up in 10th place. Right behind him is Stuart White as they are going through the Frog Hollow, the Salmon Park. And I tell you, this is you have to keep your concentration here, because one little mistake and you're right into the walls. We're on board with Mark van Rensburg in the Bentley, and of course he is chasing Stuart White just in front of him. So fast and frenetic. We've got yellow flags all over the place, and now they drop down into the dipper. This is the Data Sciences dipper, and there we go, very, very similar to the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Then they go through the left, right into the hard sort of braking chicane at Forest Elbow, also negative camber, and then back onto the long straight again.
Going onto that big straightaway now, the Afri-Host Conrad straight. You can see the Mercedes-Benz cars getting away there. Sherrod opening up half a second on Essa up to 3.5 seconds ahead there of Gutteri. Gutteri fending off Morgan McCall and Luke Lachesi. Then it's Devin Leisha. We're watching Mark van Rensburg a bit further back there. That's the green Bentley in shot as he comes down on the breakers into the Pure Storage chase. And as they come through there, you can see just how hard he's having to work. Behind that, he's also being chased down by Patsamuso and Jadwat. Bashir Jadwat has recovered, but he's now in 13th place, so he's got a lot of work to do to try and make up the ground. Oh, the Porsche's out of shape. That's a huge one. Leisha completely out of shape on the main straight.
Devin Leisha, very, very lucky. We just get a replay, and there, of course, just get, in the Porsche, and just gets completely oversteer and gets it all wrong there. He was lucky nobody was close behind him, otherwise they would have taken that position from him. But at the moment, it's Sherrod, Essa, Gautieri, McCall, Lucchesi, and we're on board with Zaire Essa, chasing hard, much closer than he was before. So that's 6/10 on the screen. I think it's way down there. This is going to be a fight right to the end between these two. Lucchesi's going to have to really up his game together with McCall if they want to try and do anything about taking the victory away from these two at the front.
Most important right now is just to finish the race as high up as you can. Yes, there is a prize, and it's a fantastic prize from Afri-Host as we head down onto the Afri-Host Conrad Straight. It's going to be 300 gigs of LTE and router for the year. And that's what they're fighting for. Oh, there goes Essa. Ooh. Essa off the circuit completely and onto the dirty stuff. That's going to affect his tires for a little bit. And he's clipped on the inside as they go down into the S's just before they hit the Data Sciences dipper. Whoa! You can see just how hard he was pushing there, pushing a little bit too hard, and the slippery conditions caught him out. And it's given a little bit of breathing room there to Jordan Sherrod.
Yeah, it's just incredible. One little mistake, one lack of concentration, missing that breaking point, and that's exactly what happened. The guy that here we go, Bruno Kadelia, up to 8th place, so he's doing a great job, and up to 9th place at the moment. Although the screen says 8 on the timing screens, it says he's 9th, but maybe that's a net 8 because of Probelar. So he just passed Stuart White. So Kadelia really, really fast, and then of course Stuart White just behind him in the Aston Martin. Probler dropping down all over the place, maybe because of the 15-second penalty. Maybe that's time adjusted, although maybe he's got some issues as well. Great to see Rob Whiting up to 15th place, Greg, considering he started 29th. Oh, very wide there from Kadelia, and maybe that gives a little bit of a sniff to Stewie White.
Yeah, Stuart White has definitely got a sniff there, and he can smell that Mercedes AMG burning the fuel as they come across the line. And looking for a chance now. Now, a little bit further back there, you can see Michael Stephen is in the race, but he's still in 29th place, 2 laps down. So there must have been a bit of an issue with he got stuck in the pit lane, which means he's going to be starting right at the back of the field. And I think he's actually stuck in the pit lane. I don't think he's been able to get out. There's a bit of an issue there. So what are we thinking about here from Michael Stephen's point of view? He's probably on track, but probably had a bit of issues inside the pit lane for too long. Chris Short up in his 17th place. Langerfeld's dropped down to 16th. Quade Claasen's just ahead of him. We're looking at Michael Stephen. There he is. He's on track out of Hell Corner and heading up the very impressive NEC Mountain Straight, taking him to the top of the mountain. And you can see he's just stuck in amongst some of those back marker drivers as well. Sash, sorry to carry on there. But just saying with Michael Stephen, that's not what I predicted.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's racing, having to start from the pit lane. But Familiaris also just very disappointing. He's right at the back of the field. Ulrich Ensslin right down in 27th place as well. So all sorts of problems for, one of the top sim racers in South Africa and around the world. So that's the beauty about racing, Greg. It's never, ever predictable. Just as you think that everything's going to go your way, things can change so quickly. We're on board with Rechard van Kola going into the data sciences dipper, just a fabulous part of the track. You can see how narrow it is, dropping down very, very severely. And then, of course, we're going to Forest Elbow, the left-hander, and then a double apex left-hander, and then onto the long Afrihost Conrad Straight.
Yeah, nice to see there with Van Koller that he's also stuck with his guns and stuck with the Lexus option. There were, I think, one or two of them that went with Lexus this evening. So incredible to see that. I can also see the rain is starting to sort of dissipate a little bit. It's not as heavy as what it was earlier on. So I wonder if there's going to be a possibility of it stopping and even potentially drying out. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case as they come down once again into the pure storage chase. And we are following Leslie Oliphant. Now, this is a man we were on board with earlier on in the day with one of our promo videos, chatting to him while he was driving, and he literally got it out of shape coming down towards that turn. This time he's got it all right. Can he keep it all together now and possibly find a way through there on Shorter? And, it's not going to be easy. Langeveld just ahead of him. Shorter's closing rapidly on him. And Chris Shorter looking for a chance now to get basically into the top 15 for a chance to start the next one.
Yeah, Leslie Oliphant there, that Mercedes ran very, very wide. So it looks like Oliphant's going to have the long shot on him. Who's going to be able to have the bigger grunt coming into this the chase? And it looks like another position for Leslie Oliphant. So great driving in his Honda. And I tell you, there's just a gaggle of cars over here. One little mistake, and you can make up 5 or 6 places. But at the front, we still have the likes of Jordan Sherritt. But on board with Devin Leish, he had some problems in his Porsche a little bit on earlier. But he's pushing Luke Lucchesi really hard. Lucchesi, our pole man, down in 5th place at the moment. He won't be happy about that. And that Mercedes, maybe those tires are going off, Greg.
Yeah, look, what will happen, Sash, is if the rain does stop and it starts to dry and they're on wet weather tires, it's certainly going to affect their ability, and the lack of grip will become prevalent pretty quickly because, as soon as that track dries out, we're in Australia, it's going to be pretty warm down there, even though it is raining. The track will dry out relatively quickly, and of course also with the undulation of the circuit going up the hill and down the hill, all the water will wash off the track very, very quickly. So I think the potential of this track drying out is pretty rapid.
I tell you, great driving from Lucchesi and also from Leisha. They're really pushing each other.
Wilkins
coming up
got
one
a
of the back markers.
Yeah, Wilkins got a problem. Charles Wilkins.
Yeah, he's got a problem. So that's looks like it's tickets for him, unfortunately. We're on board now with Mark van Rensburg. Stuart White up to 8th place, so doing a great job at present. So, and he's only 6/10 behind Bruno Cadilia.
Yes, indeed. He's doing a superb job. Bruno Cadilia also making up some ground slowly but surely too, trying to run with the same kind of pace as the Aston Martin in front of him, or now just behind him, actually. Bit of a chop and change between the two of them. Cadilia now ahead of White. White was just ahead of him a bit earlier on. But Stuart White probably just sitting behind these guys. Not a bad man to be behind there. Stuart White is looking at that as a bit of tactics. To follow the lines, to find out exactly where the braking marks are. And watch out for the Bentley, Stuart. That was close. Mark van Rensburg
that was
up there. He got a big look there on the inside of Stuart White.
Unbelievable driver. You can see Stuart just taking that defensive line, making that Aston as wide as possible. And you have to make it wide because that Bentley is massive. Climbing up the hill, the Bentley's got the grunt coming out of the corner. Looks like he's going to have a stab over here. Stuart White driving defensively as well. But Van Rensburg in that Bentley definitely on a charge. We got 8 minutes left of this race, so still a lot can happen. It looks like the rain is stopping, Greg, so they're going to have to work out how to work these tires all the way for the next 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of as I said it was going to happen, Sash. There's a couple of sections on the circuit that have still got rain on them. And then there's other parts. Oh, a big one down into the dipper. Data Sciences dipper. 2 cars coming together there. That was Stuart White who got through on both of them. Yeah, Cadilia and a big move there. The two of them coming together big time. And I think they may have lost out. So it looks like White and Van Rensburg have got through. So a bit of a change-up as they're going to come through on the next timing beam. We'll get that change-up on the timing board there. But absolutely amazing stuff there and well held. Lucchesi, very lucky to survive that one. It could have been a lot worse. Stuart White is up in his second place there. Lucchesi just gets out of shape. He tries to catch it, goes straight into Cadilia, and there goes White van Rensburg, and around the outside, I think was the Audi as well. Did he manage to squeeze through? No, I think Lucchesi just keeps him out. Only just though. They're side by side coming out of the forest elbow and now onto the straight, and we can see blue flags waving, but it's not for a slower car. It's due to the fact that they thought it was a slower car, and you can see Lucchesi just survived that sash. What an incredible bit of driving. But you can see the Audi diving on the inside and nearly squeezing through there. So big battles for what is 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th place on track.
Yeah, and I think the Audi's got through going into Murray's corner because going into the pure storage chase because he's definitely had the pull coming out of Forest Elbow. We're on board with Zaire Essa on the charge again. He knows he's only got 6 minutes. Just in front of him is Jordan Sherritt. One little mistake, as we saw, and everything can change. So Zaire Essa, with all of his experience, is going to push Jordan as hard as he can for the next 6 minutes.
Yeah, single-seater battle at the front end here on a normal racetrack. Two of them coming out of single-seater racing in a big way. And as they come down into the dipper now, Essa is applying massive pressure onto Sherritt. Sherritt is soaking it up for now, but how much longer can he take that pressure from behind? Just also getting a little information from some of the comments coming in from Facebook. On the timing board, guys, you'll see there's a grey number or a silver number, a white number, and a red number. It's basically just the cars that they've decided to race in. In other words, the team they've chosen. That car is entered normally into the Intercontinental GT Championship, either as an amateur team, a pro team, or as a silver class team. So the amateurs are out there, of course, in red. The pros are in white, and the silver class in silver. Pretty self-explanatory with that one. But it doesn't affect how our overall situation works for tonight. It's literally just how the game is created so that you can run in classes as they would in the usual and the real deal Intercontinental GT Championship.
There we go. Very well explained. I tell you, Sherritt and Essa are miles ahead of everybody else. Gauteri is a full 11 seconds behind. As we go to Richard van Coller, taking a dive down the inside. It's the Lexus. It is against the Bentley. And, of course, it's against the Mercedes as well. Superb driving from all of these guys. Different lines from them as well. Is anybody going to be able to dive down the inside? Difficult track and pretty narrow as well. So not that easy. Oh, the Bentley goes down the inside, pushes out the AMG, and it looks like the Honda or the Lexus has actually got through on all of them. So brilliant.
Yeah, Van Coller was definitely in the right place.
He's done it well.
Van Coller was in the ideal place there, just squeezed out as the Bentley put the pressure onto Cadilia. An amazing bit of maneuvering there. That is what we love to see. Top quality racing, and it's what you get to see all the time at the NEC Solidarity E-Race. An amazing move there from Van Coller. Devin Piazzamusso, though, was being very forceful on Bruno Cadilia. And, Cadilia returns the favour. Squeezes him out as they head up into the top through Griffin's Bend. Very, very impressive stuff there. But what a return of the favour there from Bruno Cadilia, saying, listen, you want to muscle your way through in that big muscle Bentley. Let me show you what this AMG is made of.
Well, I tell you, we've got 4 minutes left. I know we're on Richard van Coller. I'd like to see if maybe our director can put us on to Stuart White and Van Rensburg, because there's nothing between the two of them at the moment, and they're fighting really, really hard for 6th place. There we go. There's Stuart White going into the Data Sciences dipper, and right behind him is that massive, powerful Bentley of Van Rensburg. So this is definitely one of the big races left in the last 3.5 minutes. Stuart White up against Van Rensburg, Mark Van Rensburg in the Bentley. He started in 11th place. Stuart White started in 8th place, 13th place and 16th place respectively. So these guys have done a great job, and it's really going to help them when we get to the endurance race for the grid, the qualifying grid for that race.
I don't know if it ever rains this hard in Bloemfontein, but Stuart White is making it look like he does this on a daily basis in conditions like this. I know he's been involved in a couple of very wet races in the single-seater championships he's raced in over the last couple of seasons, and in fact got himself up into what was a potential F1 spot, as you know, Sash, with signing for the Sauber Formula One development team. for the last 2 seasons. So he's now moved on to the Stradale Motorsport Endurance Championship team, and also piloting one of the polos for Stradale Motorsport as well with his teammate Wanda Makwena. So a man that knows how to get into any race car and make it a good lap in it as much as possible.
Yeah, he really is a great driver. Here we are, Devin Leisha, who is in the Porsche and he's chasing. He's driving Morgan McCall. So this also a great race, and in front of them, I think that's Lorenzo Gautieri, and he's 13 seconds down the pace. This is unbelievable. Devin Leisha, they're going through. Actually, it's a back marker. So Leisha got the long shot, nowhere to pass over here. But let's see what he can do about McCall in front of him.
Well, nowhere to pass unless you know the lines that the V8 supercar guys use on the circuit. Because there's a couple of places you can pass here, but you've got to know those V8 supercar lines. And I'm not quite sure if anybody in this category of racing that we got on here tonight has seen those lines. But if you do find it, it's some sneaky stuff that you can pull in here. But how awesome was that? Following Devin Leisha all the way through from McPhillamy Park, through Skyline, into the S's, into the Data Sciences Dipper, and now through Forest Elbow. And we're on board literally on the exhaust pipes on the back end there of Morgan McCall.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I tell you, I think there was a better line there from Devin Leisha. So let's see if that Porsche's got any grunt to do any. I mean, it's just driving all over the track. Is McCall to try and block out Devin Leisha. Leisha's got to do something to get to the pure storage chase. And of course, they're into the final lap of this race. It's only half a second between Sherritt and Essa at the front, but we're busy concentrating on Leisha. Can he dive down the inside going into Murray's corner? As now we get to our leaders. Ooh, I tell you, there's a lot of moving from side to side there from Sherritt. I think in normal racing, you'd get a couple of warnings, Greg.
Yeah, you're only allowed to move once. So he did about 4 or 5 there, trying to defend off the attack coming from Zaya Essa. But Essa, of course, will be well aware of where he can place that car and where he can potentially have a go. There is only half a lap to go as they get to the top of the hill now. So literally, Zaya Essa's got half a lap of this incredible 6.2 kilometer circuit. So we're looking at about 3.1 Ks to go for these guys, and it's getting very, very close. You can see on numerous occasions, Jordan Sherritt has just brushed or glanced that wall. And in the big race, if you start doing that too much, it can definitely start affecting your handling on the car. It might not affect the handling too much here in the sprint race, but over a longer distance, the way that this game is set up, it might start to affect your ability to keep the handling. As they go down into the dipper now, Data Sciences Dipper, nice aerial material shot here from the Nitro Chopper. Clint Buckman's always doing a great job here for us. We do appreciate the aerial material from him.
I tell you, it was unbelievable. Essa also just nudged the barrier. That's where he lost a little bit of his drive. He's going to have to, if he's going to do anything, it's going to happen at Murray's corner. But I don't think he's close enough as they start approaching the pure storage chase, which is, of course, going to be the right, left, right. So can Zaire Essa do anything about Jordan Sherritt at the front as they get towards the end of this first sprint race for tonight's Solidarity E-Race triple header that we have?
Yeah, right after this, we head into the B final, the plate final. It looks like there's enough being done here by Jordan Sherritt. He stayed out of trouble into Hull corner, and he's literally led from start to finish. So a good drive here coming out of Jordan Sherritt. He will take the victory, and the first win of the evening goes to Sherritt. He's taking away, of course, that incredible 300 gigs of LTE and router, courtesy of our sponsor, AfriHost. Battle's still raging as they come down there. I'm not quite sure if Essa realizes that the big pack is still going to come through here, led out by Morgan McCall. We're looking at Leisha. Leisha looks exceptionally dangerous. He's going to have a go. Leisha goes around the outside trying to find a way through. Can he get onto that big Bentley? No, he can't. It is so good. Mark van Rensburg has squeezed up to 4th place right behind Morgan McCall as they come across the line. And it's so close between the three of them. Brilliant action there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th place. McCall taking it from Van Rensburg. Leisha, Stewie White eventually came through to finish up in 6th place. Gautieri, who was at the front end in 4th place, eventually ends up down in 7th. Leon van Wyk in 8th. Oh, good drive there from Van Colla. And Devin Piazza Musso, top 10 finish for him.
Oh, what a race we had there. And you've got to say, besides the two guys at the front, Mark van Rensburg in that Bentley, what a final lap from him. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
As we're on board with the other Bentley, of course, Mark Henbury, he's going to finish in 20th place. Luke Lakessi, who was our pole man, Greg, down in 21st place, 22nd place. Man, he's going to be pretty upset about that.
Something must have gone wrong there on Lukeshi, because that's not what he would be doing. Remember, last night in the semi-final, he basically got to the front end and defended off Jordan Sherritt for the entire race. So something must have happened. Maybe he had a bit of hardware failure. We saw that with Jason Absmeyer last night, where there's a steering wheel coming loose on the desk. You never know what's happened at home. We might be able to get some of that information from the WhatsApp group as we go into the changeover period now. I remember this first race was the sprint race to decide the grid for GF2, the mini enduro. So it means Sherritt and Esser are front row, McCall and Ferensberg second, Lasha and White third row, Gauthier and Van Beek is fourth, Van Colla and Piazza Musa will make up the top 5 rows there. So what an amazing start to tonight's entertainment, Sash. I didn't expect it to be that hectic at the start. I knew there was going to be a little bit of argy-bargy, but it certainly affected the way that the race turned out in the end.
Well, you know, Greg, I said it's so easy to lose a race in the first corner, and Bashir Jadwat, and just went in for the whole shot, and unfortunately, it cost him dearly. And he's really paid the price for it. But a fabulous race, magic conditions as well. We really saw that concentration. We saw a couple of guys losing it a little bit, guys crashing out when they shouldn't have, and it's really changed it up. Guys like Chris Shorter started 29th. Greg, he finished in 13th. So, I mean, if he makes up 16 places in the final race, he's going to win as a net -3. So anything is going to happen. I do hope we have rain and sunshine in that endurance race this evening.
No, I think that's exactly what we're hoping for as well, Sash, is a little bit of both so that we can experience exactly how the weather changes and what those weather changes can do for the racing drivers and for the race as a whole. And speaking of racing, well, remember, we do have some sponsors that are involved, and a massive thanks went out to NEC. We've spoken to Francois Remy Monnier from NEC, but we're also getting a chance to catch up once again with True Race and Vanna Hinop. So we've got a little interview that lined up as of last night, and we've just shortened it slightly to give True Race an indication of what they could get here with us as part of the sponsorship. So we're going to hand you back to last night and catch up with Vanna Hinop. But we brought on a brand new sponsor this time out, and it's great to have Vanna Hinop alongside us tonight as we kick things off here for the semifinals, all the way from True Race. Vanna, good evening to you, buddy.
Hi, guys. Thanks, Greg. Hi, Sasha.
Vanna, now listen, tell us a little bit about True Race. I was reading a little bit about what you guys do. Do you get hold of the gamers or the race publishers, for example, the guys who make Assetto Corsa Competizione, and then you basically try and tell them that you want to be part of the game and incorporate your ideas? How does it work?
Sash, you actually have it the other way around. It started out from sim racing. That's where I started developing software. But we do this for real world racing. So we develop software that we use as race strategy. So to give you a little bit more background, that's exactly what you call a race engineer in Formula One. The guys sitting on the pit wall communicating to the drivers, and they have all kinds of software to see what is going on track, who has made how many pit stops. They track fuel consumption, target lap times, the works. And that is what we do. So actually we started sim racing, but now in real world racing, working in the South African endurance area, we actually teamed up with 84247 racing team with Nick Adcock. So taking it from there. So now this is real world racing that we do strategy.
Greg, Sasha, can you hear me?
If I look at the sort of the back and forth that happened over the last 24 hours with the power that be, not only in online gaming, but in motorsport in general in South Africa, and an email coming out from the governing body, Motorsport South Africa, stating they'd like to do a survey on what the online gaming community is all about. So we must be doing something right if we're starting to rattle those kind of cages, man.
Yes, of course, definitely. I actually did that survey about 20 minutes ago. So
Yeah,
yes,
well, what times? How long till the
but
main
yeah, I think
race?
people are seeing this, and people are seeing what is actually being done. I mean, there's a lot of money being
Yeah.
raised for the fund, so it's for a good cause. And
All
I
right,
think people are
cool. And
starting to
that's
see
going to
what
last for
talent
how
is
long?
coming through, what guys are out there, and what they could potentially bring to real world racing coming from a sim racing background.
Yeah, sorry, they
Editors.
moved like a meeting.
What do
and
people
I
need
didn't
to do
see
to
the
sort of get hold of you
notification
to
until this
maybe help
morning.
you
That's
out
why I didn't
and
let
help
you know.
them out in terms of
Sorry
the sim
about
racing world and in the real racing world?
Okay, some
Okay, cool.
strategy advice for the guys tonight is just go flat out. It's a sprint race. Just go for it. But to the middle, kick ass, if I can say that. Go for it.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
they can get all of us at info@truerace.co.za.
Getting out of the event as a whole and showing that it's a win for their product and for what they're putting onto the market.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, also just such a passionate young guy, just loving being part of this this side of his business. So great to have him on board. It's really, really terrific.
All right, so we're going to be moving on to, of course, our plate final now, Sash. That's a bit of a change up to the way we did things in the first one as well. The idea, of course, here is to give everybody that didn't quite make the final another shot at a bit of a pie in the sky, I could put it that way. Or as they call it in karting, it's the B final. So they've made it into the B final, which means that they've still got a chance to entertain us. And weather conditions have changed dramatically down at the Circuit of Bathurst at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Who knows? They might encounter some rain, Greg. I actually am hoping that they do.
Yeah, look, it can change up as we've seen, and we're hoping that that's the case. But someone who can tell us all about this, having first-hand knowledge, has also just joined us in studio, Sash. A big welcome to Bentley Racing's Jordan Pepper, who, of course, was part of the team that took the overall victory here only a couple of months ago. Jordan, good to have you here, buddy.
Yeah, awesome to join you guys. Sorry I can't stay for as long as we planned, but yeah, it's great to join with you guys, and it's awesome to see what's happening down there, making the best of a bad situation, and yeah, just loving tuning in and watching some racing.
Dude, Jordan, it's so... carry on, Greg.
No, sorry, Sash, you go ahead.
Jordan, great to see you. We're racing at a circuit that brings back such fond memories. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, we're just watching this track. It seems incredibly technical and very, very difficult. One little mistake and wow, your race is done.
Basically, like the reference to the track, I would say is a high-speed street track built slap bang on the side of a mountain. So the elevation in sector 1 going all the way up the hill, across the top of the mountain, high speed, over 220 k's an hour average speed, and then you drop down. It feels like you're dropping down steeper than your flight of stairs at home, basically, in the car. It's an incredible feeling, and all that between walls. It's an old road. Well, it is a road, actually. There's houses and stuff up top there, so it's a normal public road. So it's, when you first drive, in real life at least, it's super dusty and slippery, but at the same time super rewarding. You know, if you use every single millimeter of the track, you gain that extra bit. So I think you see the difference between the quick guys and the not so quick guys is the guys who are pushing it right to the limit, coming down the hill as well as going up the hill, using all the space required and maximizing the speed.
Well, Jordy, they're coming up on a rolling start here on a very similar vein to what you would have done. What's going through your mind as a race driver right now in the real world? And is it going to be in a similar vein to what they're going to be feeling inside the cockpits of this virtual race?
I have to say, every virtual race I do, I'm more stressed than nervous. So yeah, I think everyone's obviously tense and stuff. Palms are probably sweating, feet are shaking, but once you normally, like, the lights drop and stuff, all the nerves you put just to a side and you just get on with your job. And I love how ACC is so realistic in this sense with their rolling starts. It's proper cool, really allows for good racing and stuff like that. And it's cool just to see what I do in the real world being brought out in the virtual world, to such a good caliber and good quality of driving.
Well, you can see the
There's a bit of
back end of the
action
quality
there.
of driving getting out of shape. A few guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, possibly 7 cars, make that 9 cars. Oh, chaos, Jordan. Oh, that's not what you want at the start of a race, is it?
That's the problem with sim racing. Everyone tends to do all those bold moves that they can't do in real life and stuff like that. So you try and get away with it on the sim. I find myself with more crashes online than in real, but I'll keep it that way. So playing ACC myself as well in this SRO championship, I know how tricky it is, and a bit of lag or a bit of input lag also causes it. But yeah, it's good fun. It's great that everyone can get online and we can still explore our passion in motorsport while we're during this lockdown period.
Jordan, is there any news for you going forward as to when you guys might be out on circuit again? Oh, huge! The BMW goes right off the track
Bathurst.
there. Yeah.
That's a perfect example of Bathurst biting you hard. You just clip the wall coming down the hill there, super blind. And if you make any slight mistake, that's where you get punished. But yeah, getting back to your question, Sasha, it's a bit of an unknown situation right now. No one knows when we're getting back. Governments are changing their plans weekly, daily. So the thing with motorsport, we know it relies on our fans. That's our core. That's the reason we do it, is the people that we get supporting it. So to have a motorsport event behind closed doors is not what anyone looks for. So they're trying to sort a calendar out that links with all the government's plans when we can start to host events over 10,000 people plus or something like that. And it's more and more looking like start in August, but yeah, let's cross our fingers and hope that we get going sooner than that. If not, at least hope we can get racing again. We all rely on motorsport. A lot of us are relying on motorsport because we self-contracted and stuff like that. So for our business side of it and also for our pleasure side of it, it would be awesome to get back racing this year and kind of get back to what's normal for us all.
Well, just before we get to the next question we're going to pose to you, George, just to run through right now, it's Bence from Albertine. Patterson is up in the 3rd place. Bernard King in the Lexus, just ahead of De Beer in the BMW. The BMW fans will be pretty happy with Kutza, and then it's little good stuff from him. So far, so good as he makes his way up just inside the top 10 ahead of Hodgson and Leach. Alton Bow is there in 11th place, a man that you've raced against on a few occasions, Geordie. And then it's Leach, Hendricks, Van Graan, Arcangeli, and a good run there from Mark Antle in another one of the Lexus. But it looks like flying the Tifosi flag there, Hendricks stuck in a similar situation to what we saw with Ulrich Enselen in the first sprint race there. The Ferrari, not the ideal option. Geordie, we've spoken to a couple of the drivers. If you'd gone into this one, what choice? I'm not going to say that you have to talk anything other than Bentley, but sometimes in these kind of formats, in this type of racing, you may have to go into some other kind of mark or make to ensure that you've got the pace. What would you have gone with?
If I wasn't linked to any manufacturer, it's a tricky one. Bathurst, I would say probably the Aston Martin or the McLaren, because the McLaren's top speed right now in ACC is incredible. So I know people are saying it's a bit edgy, but then to go with that all-round car is pretty much the Porsche. It seems to be fast everywhere. So I don't know how your championship rules worked, whether you had to be quick in one track and then another. So maybe a Porsche wouldn't have been a bad investment as well. And that's putting Bentley aside. I think if you put Bentley in the frame of it, it's not a bad car to go to. It really offers a good stable rear, which allows you to attack and gives you confidence, and that's what you need at Bathurst. That's why in real life we perform so well there as well, because we got such a good stable platform, good aero car. So yeah, you got to bring the thunder down under there to be fast.
Oh, I like that. The thunder down under. Jordan, big news that came out the other day, Audi pulling out of the German touring car, the DTM championship, which I think becomes a little bit worrying for everybody in the world of motorsport. The plans of Bentley going forward, and are you guys fully committed to where you are, and have they given you any idea for how long?
We had a plan, rough idea of what was going to happen in our next 3-5 years of motorsport. And I think that's like any person who had a plan when this situation didn't come along. It's all flipped it on its head, and unfortunately COVID-19 is going to be a killer of a lot of ideas and plans, because the car market has plummeted crazy amounts. I think they're only reaching between 10 and 15% of sales compared to normal. And yeah, it's just not good for anyone. And the idea behind motorsport is to promote your car brand. And if we can't get racing and we can't do that when we're spending money in motorsport, but we're not making it back in car sales, it kind of gets the axe first. So it's a real shame to see what's happened with Audi. It was kind of planned considering the Volkswagen Group's push towards electric racing, and that's going to impact Bentley as well. But we don't know yet what's going to happen. I don't know yet what's going to happen. You know, it's up in the air at the moment. And all I know, though, if we can get back racing sooner than later, it's going to be a lot better for all of us. But when we do get back racing, there is going to be a change, and we're just going to have to see what comes forward with it. You know, there's big push in electric GT now, so that may be something that comes along. There's always GT3, where we are right now, is really customer based. So as long as the customers are there paying to go racing, the factory drivers kind of have their job to join along and develop the team and the car with it. So yeah, we just got to cross our fingers, see where the path takes us. But I'm quite happy at Bentley at the moment, quite comfortable there. I'm working really hard within the brand. We're working together, and the structure behind everyone in the brand is to succeed and do well. And yeah, I think that's the main goal, and we just got to keep doing that and see what happens.
Awesome, George. Thanks very much, buddy. Just hang tight with us if you don't mind. We're going to just take a little bit of the race action now, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. As they head up to the top of the hill now, we're on board, as you can see, and pushing hard here with Spam. Spam is trying to close down on Kutza. Kutza and De Beer just up ahead of him as they head to the top of the hill. A very tricky part of the circuit here, Sash, as we saw earlier on. But in dry conditions, a lot easier. Although, if you look at what we're seeing here in this B final, a lot more incidents have happened in this race with the dry conditions as opposed to what we saw in the wet. So in the wet, they kind of take it a little bit easier and less mistakes. In the dry, they're pushing it to the limit and beyond.
Well, that's what they got to do. I mean, these are the guys who just didn't make it into the main final, which will take place a little bit later on this evening. But everyone's got to go for it. You know, you've got your one shot this evening in the Solidarity Plate final, and let's go for it. So we're on board with Adrian De Beer, and he's in the BMW, chasing down King as they go through the Data Sciences Dipper, and then of course now onto the long Afrihost Conrad straight. I want to get some thoughts from Jordan about this long straight and how how crazy it actually is. It's probably the widest part of the circuit. They're getting up to the pure storage chase, and then of course one of the good overtaking opportunities is going into Murray's Corner, but you really have to be close to the person behind you and brave enough to dive down the inside.
Exactly. If you watch this Aston now, the clever move now is not to dive up his inside there, is kind of to make the whole lap down to basically building yourself towards that long straight coming down into Murray's Corner. Get tucked up behind him as you drop through the dipper, in his slipstream, over that crest and overtake. So the tricky bit for him now is going to be to stay with him up over the mountain, because the understeer from the aero wash is really difficult. So he's really got to push quite hard, knowing the BMW's got quite good top speed. Make sure you can get tucked in and do a really late bold diving move up the inside into Murray's Corner is probably the best opportunity he has.
You can't really do much on top of the hill here because it's so tight, George. But I know that on a few occasions
he's gone sideways.
Yeah, there was a big moment there. Yeah, big moment. As I was about to say, I'm about to eat my word there, Geordie, as you can see.
Yeah, now the problem is for the McLaren, you know, he's kind of sandwiched in the middle, so he's got to really focus that he doesn't trip over the Aston Martin and let the other one come towards him. And knowing the Aston Martin there in fourth, the best thing he can do, because he's got a similar brand, or the same brand as the car, not the car in front of him, but two ahead, he can really capitalize, because his strengths and weaknesses rely with the same with that guy. So as soon as the McLaren gets held up in its strengthy part, he's there to pounce when the McLaren's weak, you know. So if he gets a good exit here, you try to, the typical Bathurst mistake there. Yeah, unfortunately, you got caught out like many do in real life. You try open it up to get the exit, you get into the banking, and you just understeer into that exit wall. So the easier way is you actually got to commit more inside, get really close to the wall, and that's the better way to make a good exit out onto the straight.
Just brilliant insights from Jordan Pepper, a winner around this magnificent Mount Panorama circuit as we go on board with Noah Hendricks. He had a great drive last night. He's in the Ferrari 488 chasing the Bentley in front of him of Ryan Crichton. And, well, is he going to have a chance here? Oh, he's going late on the brace. Can he try and go down the inside? Oh, I don't know if that was the right move going into Murray's corner. Maybe should have tried down the inside. But great driving from these guys as well, Jordan. What have you thought of the caliber of the sim races since you've been watching and also partaking?
Yeah, honestly, I have to just big credit to the guys who spend hours on ACC and playing it. I've only always been focused on iRacing, and it's still a platform I do enjoy and a platform I prefer because that's where I'm comfortable at. But I love a challenge, and I've loved getting on ACC. It's cool that my championship, my car is on the game. That's what makes it so enjoyable for me. I can drive as myself on the game, which is cool. But it's a different game to get used to. And the quick sim guys, as you'll see in the main final, I'm sure the guys running up front, it's the same as the guys that we race against. They really know the game inside out, and they know the tricks and the secrets. And like anything, it's just time, and you've got to put time towards it to be fast. And that's what sim racing allows you to do compared to real racing. You can put in as many hours as you want. The budget doesn't change. So that's what's cool about it. And it's good to see how fast the guys can get when they perfect everything.
And the perfection comes with that time in the saddle. There's no doubt about it. You can see just how hard this Ferrari of Hendricks is pushing. He hasn't found a way through on Crichton. Crichton's been pretty defensive. And now we'll probably have a little bit of extra grunt down the incredible Afrihost Conrad Straight. So as they head down there, they head down, of course, into the Pure Storage Chase Corner, which, of course, is the small little chicane that was brought in. Sasha was telling us all about that earlier on. But Ferrari versus Bentley, and getting into the slipstream is not a bad idea. Is there a big effect in the slipstream as what there is in real racing here in Sims as well, Jordy?
No respect. No respect.
Oh,
Take that.
no respect. Well done, Noah Hendricks. That was brilliant.
Good save, good save. I really feel sorry for the Bentley because the Ferrari just bounced it. But yeah, going there side by side, I wouldn't even pull that move off in real, to be honest. It's really, I have, but it's really on the edge. But yeah, slipstream plays an incredible role in real life as well as on the sim. And I would say they've nailed it. They've got it really realistic. You don't want it to be unrealistic that you can come back from, as we watch a replay, across the grass. But yeah, you really got to tuck in, and you sort of feel the front of your car get super light when you're in the toe because the aero that these cars produce, GT3 cars, they might look like road going cars, but the aero and the downforce from the underneath of the car is so high that you really lose downforce when you're getting in the toe. So you've got to watch out when you're climbing on the brakes that you don't brake too late and rear end the guy in front of you, and also make sure you time the overtake right because you can quite easily catch the back of his bumper and hit him.
There's a good move there from Arcangeli, just diving through on Henry Roux. So a bit of a change up between the Audi and the Aston Martin. The Audi running wide and actually clipping the barrier as he went through Audi corner. That would have been Audi corner on the real racetrack with Audi branding on it as they're heading up towards, of course, the true race cutting. From the cutting, they head all the way through Frog Hollow and up now to the top of the mountain. Over the top of the hill here, you can see, I love the way that they show where the undulations on the circuit are and where you'd sort of see the car bottoming out, where the tires would be braking hard and the tire marks get ingrained into the circuit as well. Everything is so realistic in this ACC, and of course in all forms of sort of online racing at the moment. It just shows you that the entertainment factor, even though we're watching it via a computer game, is just as good, if not better sometimes, than what we get in real life.
Yeah, I tell you, I've got to just tell you, Jonathan Bent's doing a fantastic job. He started second on the grid. He is ahead of Franco Albertine, both in Audis, and well, he's got a 1.7 second lead right at the front. We go down into 7th place. Jan Spammers in the McLaren been battling with that Aston Martin throughout the whole of this game, and neither of these two drivers can do anything about the BMW in front of them. But guys are really just trying to push. We've only got just under 5 minutes to go as they go over the rise, and we get onto our leader at the moment, Jonathan Benz, with that nearly 2 seconds now ahead of Franco Albertine. So a clinical drive from this young man.
Yeah, Ben's hanging on to the lead at the stage with about 3 to go. Albertine just hasn't had an answer to him, and it looks like, as we saw earlier on, and I'm sure on a similar vein to what we see in real life too here, if you get a good drop and you get away, there's a good potential of you hanging on to take the overall victory. We saw it earlier on with Jordan Sherritt. He put in a massive effort to stay ahead, and yes, he was closed down in the closing stages by Zahir Essa, but the real cool thing about this is as they get onto that AFRI host Conrad Straight, if this is the case, and if we've got dry conditions later on for GF2, are we going to be seeing similar things, or are we going to be seeing cars able to stick with each other a bit closer than what they were able to do in the wet? And will there be a bigger pack to run at the front?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question, Greg, as we've always seen in any kind of racing, whether it's sim racing or even a real racing. You know, somebody who gets out in front and doesn't have too much pressure on them, and there's a pressure from the guys that are behind, all of a sudden the person maybe can stretch their legs a little bit. And we're seeing that now with Jonathan Bentz. And the top 3 guys are just in a class of their own. The rest of them are all trying to battle for it. And that, unfortunately, doesn't give us a great fight in the front of the pack, but it does give us some brilliant racing further down the field.
Looks like Sean Skitter and Van Affen Kraan, unfortunately, have had to go into the pits for whatever reason. The two of them in the pit box at the moment, waiting for them to come back out onto the circuit as we see our leaders heading back up the hill. They come up towards the True Race cutting, and from the True Race cutting, they head through Quarry up to Frog Hollow, and an amazing part of the circuit here. I love the not the onboard, but the on-wall cameras, those GoPros slapped onto the side of those walls to give us up close and personal speed differentials, how tight these guys get to the wall, how close they actually physically make the cars come up, and that's how close it is. A little bit of rubbing across the wall there. That is not what you want to be doing at this point of the race. It could be very, very costly. A small little error now is going to be one that you don't want to make, because remember, these guys are fighting for 2,000 rands first place, 1,000 rands second, and $500 for third. So your top 3 right now, Bentz, Albertine, and Patterson, cannot afford to make a mistake with about 2 to go.
Well, I tell you, a great move there from Marco and Arcangeli on spammers in the McLaren. Just shows you, if you get your exit right in certain of these corners, it makes a huge difference going down these long straights. So great move there from the Aston Martin driver. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. We've got Patterson, who's got a 5-second penalty, but he is pretty safe because King behind him is about 14 seconds down the road, so it's not going to affect him when it comes to the final tally. As we go into the data sciences dipper over here, into that right-hander, into the left-hander as well, you've got to make sure you get your exits right. He's not close enough to Crichton in front of him, but he's still got maybe one more lap after this to have an opportunity to make a difference.
I love when Brennan from EF is go to the BMW. Oh. As I was about to say, go to the BMW, and we get the action that I expected. I was about to say to Brennan, please go and pick up on De Beer in the BMW. There's only 0.3 of a second between him, and as we get there, right on song, De Beer goes and slams straight into that Lexus in front of him. Let's have a look at it as they come underneath that Pirelli banner, down towards the Pure Storage Chase. It's late braking from the BMW, and I think he just gets it out of shape a little bit too late. Can't slow it down. Tries to get out the way. The Lexus doesn't see him coming. Thanks very much. 57, 67, corner pocket and middle pocket.
Yeah, there we go. And of course, it let the Aston go through as well. So, yeah, fortunately, Greg, these guys are in different houses, so they can't get out of their chairs and go and bash each other across the face.
Well, Sash, you say that, but last night in the wildcard final, I found this out from Richard Raymond, one of our back office crew. The antics and the banter between the drivers in the mid-pack to the back of the pack in the wildcard were audible. And pity we didn't record that, because some of the conversations that were happening were pretty hilarious, according to what Richard Raymond told me. And it would have been really awesome to put them out there. But another factor that came in was, of course, that big incident between Mahotsi and his teammate Daniel Rowe right in the end when Daniel went slamming into the side of Jonathan Mahotsi. Would have been great to hear the conversation there between 67 and 57 after that little incident.
Oh, wow. Listen, we're on to the final lap. What a superb drive in the Audi from Jonathan Bentz. And it looks like he's going to take the plate final. What a way to finish the Solidarity E-Race plate final on board in-car camera with him. So great drive from Jonathan Bentz. He started second on the grid, got a great start, and has led from lap 1. Superb drive. And he crosses over. Well done, Jonathan Bentz in the Audi. Second's going to be Franco Albertine in the Aston Martin. And third is going to be Kieran Patterson, who started in 6th, all the way up to third place in the Porsche 911.
Yeah, nice drive from Patterson. Kutz is going to come through here for another top 4 finish for him. He'll be happy with that in that resplendent yellow Aston Martin. Not quite the Aston Martin colours that we used to, but there are a couple of guys still coming together down the back straight there on the Conrad Afriho straight. There was a touch between two of the Audis. I think it might have been Arcangeli and Alton Bow, or Steyn and Alton Bow, but definitely the two of them with some issues as they came down there. This is Arcangeli. He stayed out of trouble. I think it was Bow and Steyn that came together. The two of them fighting for a possible top 10, and we'll wait and see if they drop down. Here comes Steyn now. Yeah, it was definitely Steyn. It was one of those Audis, the orange Audi of Steyn we recognise from last night in that livery. He comes through to take what is going to be 8th place and heads down to the bottom of the main straight and into the celebrations that'll be happening. A couple of guys doing some burnouts and some donuts. Exactly what Jordan Pepper would have been doing, I'm sure. Jordy, from your side, it's great to see the ability for these guys to entertain the crowd after the fact that the checkered flag has come out and have a little bit of fun too.
I think Geordie saw these guys doing donuts and got a bit of a fright and decided to get out of here. But it was great. How amazing, Greg, to get the insights of a driver who knows this track, who's won on this track, and just tell us, the differences, how the downforces work, the canvas, and just how the cars can get unsettled at certain parts. I mean, it's just wonderful to have that insight from a professional racing driver.
Yeah, it certainly gives a big up to the way we've done the commentary and certainly enhances what we've done. Not that we haven't been able to talk about the race itself. We did get into a little bit of chat with him and, of course, also got into what was happening overseas too. So it was really nice to get insight from both points of view. Firstly, from the races side of things. And, of course, the race's edge is what we're looking for here, particularly at Bathurst. So if any of the drivers that were waiting in the sidelines, I believe we're going to have a slight delay because we've got a couple of incidents that have to be sorted out. And once we've got those incidents sorted out, of course, we will then come to live pictures for GF2, the 40-minute and 20-lap mini endurance, which will have a compulsory pit stop. The weather has been set at random. Temperature is set at random. And, of course, if you make it into the final, they must know how to do those mandatory pit stops. The pit stop window opens with 30 minutes. It opens after 5 minutes into the race, and it closes with 5 minutes to go. So they may not go into the pits for the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, and they have to do a mandatory tyre change. They don't necessarily have to refuel, but they can if they're in there and they want to refuel at the same time that they're doing the tyre change.
Oh, I tell you, the excitement is building. I just want to say, in the dry conditions, Greg, maybe we were a little bit spoiled with that wet race for the first final earlier on. But I've got to say, one of the top drivers over there, if I had to choose a driver of that plate final, I've got to say that he also impressed me last night, and he impressed me this evening as well, is Noah Hendricks. He started in 19th and finished 6th. And he drove superbly last night, and he drove superbly again this evening. So well done to him. But taking nothing away from our winner of the plate final, we now wait in anticipation for that main final, the endurance race. We're expecting a little bit of a delay. They're sorting out some technical issues. And Greg, after that first race in the wet conditions, I cannot wait for this. I think we're in for something dynamic.
Oh, no doubt about it, Sash. We're certainly going to be in for something pretty spectacular. I know that there's a couple of things coming through, which I'm just reading as we speak. There are a couple of steward and marshalling reviews and the COC reviewing a couple of incidents that happened in race number 1, GF1. So once those are all sorted out, they can then allocate how the guys are going to line up for GF2, the main race, the one for the money. And when we talk about the money, remember AfriHost is our big cash sponsor, as well as the data and LTE sponsor for this one. And all of the cash prizes courtesy of them. It's a 12,000 Rand purse, 2,000 Rand more than Kyalami, plus another gig of LTE and router for 12 months, 7,000 Rand going to second place, 3,500 Rand going to third place. It's absolutely amazing stuff that's been happening here. The 2.1 version of the NEC Solidarity E-Race.
Yeah, I think it's just wonderful to see what the guys have come and contributed and just rewarding these sim racers who most of the time do it for a lot of fun, but there are some of them who are contracted to international teams and become coaches. So it's just really great that there's some recognition, because it takes a tremendous amount of hours and hours to go out there and play. So number one, you have to have the time, and if you've got a normal job, you must not be doing it late at night. So wonderful to see so many people who have gotten involved as well, Greg, into the sim racing and the NEC Solidarity E-Race, both the first one at Kyalami and this one where we've highlighted 6 different circuits as well.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff, Sash. I really am impressed with what's been happening on all formats of the sport that we've got into here. And both you and I, of course, have always been supporters of what happens out on the real black stuff. But we've slowly but surely been converted as to what's been allowed to happen in front of our eyes over 2 weeks, and the excitement that it brings, because it really is as exciting, and as I said to Jordan, sometimes even more exciting than some of the races we get to commentate on and get to be involved in the real world.
Yeah, very much so. Racing is so unpredictable, and somebody can get out in the front and then just go off into the distance. There's nothing else you can do about it. So it is a very unpredictable sport. But I've really taken to enjoying this sim racing. I think it's just tremendous amount of fun to be involved with, and I'm itching to maybe get a little bit of a setup at home and try and hone my skills a little bit on some of these games, just to go and experience it. I think it's tremendous fun, especially with the way that technologically these games improve year by year by year. They're as real as you can get.
They certainly are. And listen, I've kind of looked at the old gaming console that's sitting in the bottom of my cupboard. It's a PS2 console. But a couple of these guys are still using the same steering wheel and pedal set that I've got. So if I can get my PC set up correctly and maybe play around with a few little settings, I also had an awesome opportunity to sort of spend some time with Jason Holden-Jones, with Neil Marks, and also with Richard Raymond over these last 2 weeks, and then found out the ins and outs of how they do things and what they do to increase their numbers on social, how they're doing it in terms of the apps that they're using, and the little secrets that come into play with that too. With both you and I having to possibly stick around at home for a lot longer than most people once we move to level 4, due to the fact that events, racing, and MC duties are not going to be called upon for a while, we may need to find those little secrets and put them into practice, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I just can kick myself. I mean, all of my game consoles, of course, I mean, my son has got them, which is fine. But I mean, I used to have the racing seat and all the different steering wheels and the pedals. And, over the years, just giving them away to other people, who maybe just asked for them and wanted them. And now I sit and think, man, I wish I could open up my shed and those things were there and go and set it up again. But, time for change. Let's see what we can do going into the future. I have so much respect for the people who do this.
You know what I've learned, Sash, and I've learned it sort of by the hard way. A couple of times during the videos and stuff that I've done live, people have sort of commented on my Ferrari and motorcycle collection that I have, and I've got a Batmobile and James Bond car collection as well. But in learning how things become valuable in 20, 30 years' time, I kind of went on the solution with my son, where he decided, no, Dad, I'm over this. I need a PS4. I said to him, okay, look, I'll go hobbies with you if you want to go and buy one yourself, and we'll make that your Christmas present. But on the proviso that I can keep the original PS3 that I bought you initially. And he said, oh, what do you want to keep that for, Dad? What do you want to keep that for? I said, listen, I don't want to keep it for now. I want to keep it for when you turn 50. Because when you turn 50, and I might be probably in the grave at that stage, hopefully not, but when he turns 50, I can turn to him and say, listen, by the way, here's your old PS3. Go and have a look on whatever social media is at that time of the year, which is, of course, in about 40 years' time. And you tell me what PS3 is now worth, now that it's in mint condition and back in its box and been hidden away for the next 40 years.
Always clever thinking there, Greg. Yeah, and me, unfortunately, I'm the other. I'm not a hoarder, so I just like things clean and proper. And just get rid of things as soon as they are obsolete and not needed. But yeah, I think it is. I think it would be wonderful to keep things like that. I do have an old Nintendo game.
Yeah.
And that's about it that I've got. But all of the other toys are gone. So we might have to start rebuilding.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is, I've had a look at a few of the things that I have kept. And when you and I were sort of in our teens, Nintendo launched the original Donkey Kong and, of course, Donkey Kong Jr. and those kind of games. I've still got all three of those in those little plastic hard packs that were literally the size of a cell phone. And I've still got all three of those. They're worth a bit of money right now. And I wish, and I rue the day that I gave my Atari console away. Because if you go onto eBay right now and have a look and see what an Atari console in good condition goes for, bud, we wouldn't have to worry about lockdown. We could be living off what we sell our Atari consoles for.
Oh, man. I love that. It's amazing. Listen, if you're just tuning in, we got a little bit of a technical delay when it comes to the final for the NEC Solidarity E-Race. We've had our first final a little bit earlier. Jordan Sherritt won that. We've had our plate final, which has just finished a few minutes ago, and that was won by Jonathan Bentz. And then, of course, we're going into our 40-minute race that will take place. Changeable weather conditions could happen. Mandatory pit stops have to take place. It's going to be sensational, but we're just finalizing one or two steward queries, and then, of course, we'll go racing.
And with that, Sash, we were able to catch up, as I said, in the day, which was actually quite a nice thing to do, with three of our top contenders this evening. Luc Lachesi was on pole position for the sprint race. So this interview talks about him being on pole position, of course, for the sprint race. But we've got an interview with him lined up. We've got an interview with Michael Stephen lined up, and also with young Leslie Oliphant. So hopefully Brendan's been able to get those out of the WeTransfer files, and we can run those for you so you can see exactly what these drivers get up to and how they got into the practice sessions, beg your pardon, this afternoon. So we're picking up with a man on pole position for tonight as he's getting into a bit of practice sessions here at Mount Panorama. Luc Lachesi, I think you must be pretty excited considering the fact that you're on pole after a spectacular semi-final last night.
Yes, it's the ideal starting position here, and I'm in the right car for it too. So hopefully I can defend with the top end that this Merc has, because the chance of overtaking in the twisties is highly unlikely.
Yeah, it's a tough circuit to play on. I mean, we're going to have Jordan Pepper with us this evening. He's actually physically won in the real world here. He must be pretty excited to try and win in the virtual real world.
Yes, no, for sure. I had some issues at the last event at Kailami, so this is hopefully my sort of saving grace.
He definitely turned it around. He had a magnificent battle last night with Jordan Sherritt. Are you expecting some big trouble from Bashir and maybe from Zahir Essa and Lorenzo Gutteri?
I think the Mercs are going to give me more issues. The problem with the Audi is that it lacks top end, so I don't think it's going to be able to challenge the Merc down the straights. Obviously the Audi is probably slightly better in the turns, but there's no real passing opportunity unless one makes a mistake. It's all about keeping it out of the walls here. If the guy in front bins it, then pretty much the whole field is going to go into him from behind.
Similar to what we saw in the wildcard final last night at Zolder in the wet. With the changeable conditions, have you been watching all of the possibilities of what the weather can do?
I really hope it doesn't rain here, because rain is like death on this circuit. I mean, it's almost death in the dry, so as you can see.
Yeah, there you go.
So you are on the edge all the time.
Well, Luke, we wish you all the very best for tonight, buddy. We'll catch you live at 7 o'clock coming from the NEC Solidarity E-Race. Thanks so much for joining us for a little practice session at Mount Panorama. Awesome stuff to have that straight from Luc Lachesi's point of view as well. Sash, just after that, about 10 minutes later, we caught up with Michael Steven, and it was quite cool to see Michael Steven's interview, because with Michael Steven's interview, he actually had his webcam on, so you could see him actually in the chair of his rig, pushing it to the limit. So maybe we can pick up on that one. We've got that one and one more to go, and then I believe the server is up and running. So we're going to literally come out of the 2 interviews back to back, and then straight into GF2.
All right, so I'm looking forward to seeing Michael Steven, in his interview, and then, of course, also in the race. So let's catch up with the multiple South African champion. Here's Michael Steven.
You join us here down under at Mount Panorama, the home of the Bathurst 1000, and, of course, the home of NEC Solidarity E-Races grand finale this evening. And on track, as you can see, heading down out of the very, very tricky section at the top of the hill, known as the Data Sciences Dipper, heading towards Forest Elbow. We're on board here with Michael Steven. Mike, it's so good to have you involved with us, buddy. I lost count how many South African championships you've won over the last 23 years I've been commentating, but you must be pretty excited, and I know you had an absolute blast last night here at the home of the Bathurst 1000.
Yeah, absolute blast last night. I heard about the first, series that took place and how much fun the guys had, and just had to get involved. You know, it's not only about the racing, but it's also supporting a good cause. And absolute blast, and looking forward to tonight.
Oh, buddy, I can see how hard you're working here. This is a very, very tricky circuit, and it was only announced a couple of days ago. So the mystery side of things must have been pretty hectic for you guys as racers.
Everything's mystery for me. I only downloaded the game on Saturday, so it's been quite a challenge. We did the qualifying rounds, and I was quite far off, and the competitive nature took over, so I stole my wife's PC. And now I'm a little bit faster. So, but I mean, obviously we're racing to win, but need to put a few more hours in to get right to the top.
Well, I can see how hard you're working here. It's not an easy thing to do. A lot of guys get caught out by the fact that they think it's just a computer game and it's so easy to set up. But of course, there is a huge amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to get you to be able to do what you're doing right now, heading up into, of course, Salmon Park and through Frog Hollow, up into the skyline and to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, it's a lot of concentration and trying to talk to you at the same time. It's everyone thinks racing's easy, but when you've got your team crew talking to you as you're going through the mountain, it's not always the easiest. So a little rub on the wall means you're on the edge, but not an easy track, and need to do a few more laps to get to the front guy's pace.
Well, Mike, we wish you all the very best tonight, and there you go, he gets it out of shot, just on cue, exactly what we expect. This is the kind of action you can see tonight in NEC Solidarity E-Race Grand Finale. We'll see you at 7. Straight from Michael Steven's point of view. Nice to see him also make a small mistake. It's not something that you see from him in the real world on any occasion. He's pretty much a pin-perfect kind of driver. But also getting a bit of comments flying through from Facebook as well. Gert van den Berg, a multiple Formula V champion, has just sent me a message saying, he's also stuck with the PS2 console. And I wonder if Gert van den Berg's got the Colin McRae rally game, because that was my favorite one to play.
Yeah, I tell you, they're all going to start coming out now, that's for sure. Let's catch up with Leslie Oliphant, Greg, and then, of course, let's get into this final.
Well, ladies and gents, you join us here at Mount Panorama down under. And this is the home of the Bathurst 1000. It's also the home of the NEC Solidarity E-Race Grand Finale. And with weather conditions being put onto automatic, we could be experiencing what Leslie Oliphant is experiencing right now, a torrential downpour. And this must be a big concern for you, Les, heading into tonight's final.
Nah, it's not much of a concern. I like the rain. Stirs things up a bit.
It kind of brings everybody onto the same playing field. Faster drivers have to turn themselves down. The slower drivers get into a sort of more of a rhythm. But you're sitting mid-pack at the moment after a great semi-final last night. Are you excited about what could happen tonight?
I'm a bit excited, but the guy in front should run away with it, eh? If nothing happens. And I'm scared guys might crash on the hill or down the hill. You can't get past, stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that happens, and we'll see what happens tonight.
It is a tough circuit, and you can see with these kind of conditions it makes. What's the plans and what was the strategy going with the Honda?
I looked at a whole lot of YouTube videos to see which cars are doing well at Mount Panorama, and I thought I should be able to get 7th in the semis. So from what I saw, the Ferrari and the Honda were doing very well in most of the YouTube videos. So
It's always good to check out what's happening on social media before jumping these incredible events. Have you enjoyed the event and being part of it?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I enjoy everything about it. I just try to be in the finals most of the time, but I hope for luck most of the time.
And that's the kind of luck you don't want tonight. Well, there you go, ladies and gents. That's the kind of action you can expect tonight in the NEC Solidarity race. Leslie Oliphant, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. We'll see you tonight. Come and join us at 7 o'clock as we go live. How was that, Sash?
Oh, Greg,
Bottom
I
of
tell
the
you.
Afri-Host Conrad Freight and completely 360'd it.
Well, I mean, just incredible. Just shows you in those kind of conditions. And now we get an idea of what these guys are actually seeing out of the windscreens of their cars. You know, in that first final that we had this evening, it was wet conditions. We didn't have any of those onboard shots. It wasn't raining as bad, but it just shows you it makes a significant difference to your visibility.
Yeah, and I think if it does change up, as we've said, the weather setting is on random. The temperature setting is on random, so anything can happen in the next 40 minutes, and it's within the next couple of probably 2 or so minutes, we go straight live down under to, as Jordan Pepper put it, check out the thunder down under.
Yeah, they call it the Blue Hill. You know, the Nürburgring is known as the Green Hill. This they call the Blue Hill because it also is very, very treacherous. But got some fascinating corners. The Data Sciences Dipper, very similar to Laguna Seca. And then also coming through Selman Park. And just before the Dipper as well, Greg, you know, you got a blind rise, which is very similar to our Leerkop turn at Kyalami.
Well, Sash, as you can see on screen, it's dry conditions to start with. So I think a lot of guys will be pretty happy with that. Whether or not it stays dry, we'll wait and see. But yeah, that's kind of what everybody was hoping for. But as we said, the weather pattern on this game can be changed to just be random and happen as it would in nature. Or you can set it like we have in the semi-finals to remain dry and remain at a certain temperature the entire time. That is not happening tonight. Tonight, it is basically up to the virtual Mother Nature to work out what's going to happen in terms of weather.
Yep. Also, we got the mandatory pit stop. Some guys might come in and change their tires, and then all of a sudden the rain could come. So they might have to do a secondary pit stop. So it's going to be a lot about strategy as well, Greg. We've got 2 Mercs over there, and then, of course, we've got the big Bentley behind. Oh, this is going to be an incredible race. Also, watch out for young Stewie White in the Aston Martin. He's lining up 6th on the grid after a very good first final. So, this is going to be a really, really tense race.
It is certainly. And just having a look to see if we can maybe get the timing board up on the side, just to see how things might have changed up and what those incidents and accidents would have caused. It hasn't affected the top 10. They've remained the same. Shirt, Esser, McCall, Van Rensburg, Leisha, White, Gutierrez, Van Beek, Van Coller, and Piazza Musso. Leslie Oliphant, I think, has moved up slightly, and Quade Claasson's behind him. It's Langeveld and Roots, Shorter and Whiting, Cadilia and Brummer, Kleb, Henbury, Heineke, Enslin, and Lucchesi. Look at that, Luke Lucchesi down in 23rd place. That is going to be an epic and probably mind-blowing drive if he can get from 23rd to 1st at the end of this one.
Yeah, it looks like Stuart White's going to be starting from the pit lane, so some kinds of issues there as well. Also, Ulrich Enselin, all the way down in 22nd. I mean, he won at Kyalami and didn't have a great first final. So here's a guy also to watch. You know, he's got the skills, he's got the caliber to do some great driving. Going further down the grid, we've got Bashir Jadwat, who just had all sorts of issues in that first final. Michael Stephen, because he started from the pit lane, unfortunately going to start in 26th, but we know his kind of caliber. Familiaris, Wilken, and Grobler. Wilken, also one of those unlucky drivers, so we're going to have to see what Charles can do in the next 40 minutes of racing.
Charles walking in the Hulk colours. It's lime green and purple. He's gone on the AMG. He's gone with the right option according to what we've seen so far. Although in the plate final, it was an Audi that took the victory. So there's a bit of a German battle about to happen out here. There is a Porsche in that top 5. The Ferrari, as we saw, already down in 22nd place. So a bit of work to do there for him. And Ulrich Ensslin was in the Audi at Kyalami. He decided to run, and I know there was a comment earlier on, I don't know if you picked up on the group there, Sash, about the fact that he was hoping to put that Ferris onto the top step of the podium just to see your reaction. So don't take that out of the equation. That might be just the motivation he needs to get from 22nd to 1st.
Well, if we have changeable conditions, Greg, anything can happen when it comes to motorsport. Here we go, everybody on the grid. We got 2 minutes before the start. Jordan, share it. So it seems as though it seems to have reset itself.
Yeah, I think it may have reset there, Sash. I'm not quite sure who put the reset button, but we might have to do another full lap of warm-up. That kind of wasn't part of the loss. I think it might have been because of Stuart White in pit lane. Yeah, Stuart White's back on the grid.
Oh, there we go.
I think they've reset it because Stuart White was not supposed to start from pit lane. They're making everybody get onto the track. So it was an issue there. Unfortunately, sometimes there is a virtual and artificial intelligence that comes into play in these games. And our backroom staff, Jason Holden-Jones, Neil Marks, and Richard Raymond would have sort of vetoed that and brought it back so that we could restart with everybody out of pit lane. And that's what we want.
I couldn't agree more. You know, that's how you want to go racing. I mean, it is virtual racing. It's not real racing. And, you know, in real racing, these things unfortunately do happen. But when it comes to a virtual race, you want everybody to be on, you know, have the best advantage or the most advantage as possible. There we go. We are on board with Bruno Cadilha. Of course, he was one of our podium finishers last week at Kyalami, starting all the way down in 17th position in his Mercedes. So right in front of him, he's got one of the Bentleys. So this is going to be a great off the line. We're going to do another warm-up lap for our drivers. I tell you, the man I think to watch out here is definitely Zahir Essa.
Yeah, we're going to be in for a good one. There's no doubt about it. Also, just want to give a mention out and a shout out once again to Alan Patterson and to Ryan Hill, our official marshals who have come in on a voluntary basis to assist with our incredible race control team. We've mentioned them on a few occasions, but we haven't really mentioned Al and Ryan. Big thanks to them for coming on board and just watching in the background to ensure that if anybody does get out of hand or the antics become a little bit too ungentlemanly, they will be then put under the scrutiny of the COC. And that's when all the penalties, etc., get implied. Everybody on track, though, as we roll off. That's what we wanted. Ooh, big black lines out of the Bentley. Van Rensburg, yes, I know this is an artificial game and artificial intelligence comes into play, but a little bit of intelligent thinking is, you know that those Pirellis are going to take strain. You may not want to be lighting them up at this point in time.
Yeah, also, Greg, you know, it's a 40-minute race. You know, they have been used to running for 20 minutes. It's going to make a huge difference on their tyres and their tyre choices when they decide to go and make that pit stop. Do they gamble and wait for the rain? The rain could come within the first couple of minutes. It might come within the last couple of minutes. So who is going to take that gamble, and how defensive are they going to be able to drive to keep those behind them? Those on fresh rubber, we know, are really going to have a significant advantage midway through this race.
Yeah, rubber is going to be a major factor here. And remember, they do have to go in for that mandatory pit stop. With the mandatory pit stop, they also have to ensure that they do the tyre change. They don't necessarily have to refuel, but they have to do a tyre change. And hopefully, as I mentioned earlier on, Stash, and I hope this is the case, they've gone in and practiced that, because according to the powers that be, and I'm talking about the Jason Holden-Jones of the world and the Richard Raymonds, it's not an easy thing to do.
Listen, a pit stop in real life, and I'm sure also in sim, they try and simulate these things as real as possible. So pit stops are incredibly difficult. It takes hours and hours of practice to get pit stops correct. So hopefully they have done it, and they've got the right pit crews, and everyone's awake and ready to get those tires changed.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have to get that all sorted out and dialed into perfection. Otherwise, we're going to be having some fun and games of our own in pit lane. Also, just a mention here coming in from the man who's behind all the technical aspects of Volkswagen Motorsport. Great to have him sending me a little comment from the sidelines all the way down in Port Elizabeth. Awesome to hear what you guys are doing in sim racing. I have a company that manufactures sim racing rigs, so he's putting in a bit of a punt here, which I'll give him. And if after the event, he might want to sponsor a rig setup for somebody. So we'll get hold of him if we need to and possibly put that together for the next one. His company known as G4 Sim. So that's Prof from Volkswagen Motorsport, the man who, of course, is the technical genius and guru behind all the setups for the Utinga Polo Cup. So, Prof, there you go. Here's a little punt for you, buddy. We will definitely get hold of you and possibly put something together for the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I'm putting my hand up for one of those rigs. Thank you.
I'll take one too. Does it work with PS2?
I'll just, I'll just find some parts of computers and put them all together. I don't know. That's what we got to do. But man, we're getting excited.
If you take into account the team we've got behind us, Sasha, they'll definitely be able to set you up with something.
Well, listen, you know what? Let's focus on the racing here. Of course, they're coming down the very long AFRI host Conrad Straight. This is quite an amazing straight, Greg, by the way. Denny Hume, who was the 1967 Formula One world champion, actually died on this straight. Not by an accident. He had a massive heart attack in rainy conditions back in, I think it was 1992. He was doing a guest race and unfortunately lost his life. So, we spoke last night about racing circuits. They have the good and the bad. And, Bathurst, Mount Panorama has got a combination of those as well. So let's always remember, real motor racing is still extremely, extremely dangerous.
And that's why we love it, and that's why everybody around the world that are motorsport fans loves it too. They don't come to see the guys winning, they come to see all the action, all the banging, all the crashes. And we are looking forward to some action now, hopefully not banging and crashing, as we come around out of Murray's Corner to start the NEC Solidarity E-Race Grand Finale. It's Mercedes-Benz side by side with Shirt and Essa on the front row, McCall right behind them, also in a Mercedes, and Mark van Rensburg pushing hard in the Bentley as the lights go to green. We go racing. We're going down towards turn one. Morgan McCall trying to squeeze through in between the two Mercedes-Benz out front, but it looks like Shirt might have got the whole shot. Jordan Shirt has whole shotted and gone through into the lead by the looks of it as they head up to the top and into the very first part of the NEC Mountain Straight. They come up that mountain for the very first time. The 4-car in second is Essa, under a bit of threat there from Morgan McCall. McCall going to go around his outside as they head up into Griffin's Bend. Inside line from Essa, outside line. And that's not the ideal line to be on, that is for sure. That is why McCall had to back out of that. Behind him, what a start from Devon Leisha. The Porsche is right there. And in fact, trying to go around the outside. Devon Leisha looking for a way around the outside as they get up into the first part of Frog Hollow. What a move there for the Porsche. He might be able to make it stick as they get into the next right hand. He's got it. He's got through. What a move there from Devon Leisha. Unbelievable action from the Porsche man right at the start.
Unbelievable start to this race. Jordan Sherritt, Essa McCall was really trying to do everything to get past Zahir Essa as we get into the dipper part of the circuit. Of course, now they drop down severely. They really, really have to get their braking markers right. We're on board with Mark van Rensburg. He's had a great start. He's up in 5th place. Right in front of him, Devon Leisha, who's also just been brilliant right off the start. They really, really have to get their focus and concentration hard on the brakes into the left-hander. And of course now through Forest Elbow down onto the long AFRI host Conrad Straight. Let's see if anybody can get close, utilize that slipstream. As you see, that Bentley grunt is massive. He's really, really getting close to the back of Morgan McCall. So everyone doing a great job. Stuart White dropped back quite a few positions. They get into the pure storage chase at the moment. They flick to the left. Oh, somebody's gone off the track. He's gone off the track. There we go. And all of a sudden the Bentley's gotten through as well. Mark van Rensburg moves up to 4th position. They're coming towards the end of the first lap and he's gone off again. Unbelievable. As the replay, just a replay, and the Bentley gets through. And of course the guys are coming up to complete their first lap going into Murray's Corner as we're on board with Morgan McCall.
Now Morgan McCall being reeled in now big time by Lorenzo Gauteri. Gauteri realizing that McCall's made 2 mistakes right in front of him. He's now going to apply the pressure and try and find a way through. Stuart White's going to go with him. White right on the tailpiece there. We're a bit further back there, picking up on Leslie Oliphant as he gets into the slipstream of the big Bentley, trying to pull out as they go through there and find a way past. Is he going to be able to make it stick as they come up onto the breaking point? Oh, it's very, very close there. Devin Piazzamusa tries to shut him out, but no way he could do that. The Honda just squeezing through there, a little bit more nimble, I think, through the tricky tight bits, but certainly some big power from those Bentleys as we've seen. McCall followed through there, and you can see just behind that, Olifant is not too far off the back. Van Coller and Van Wyk are in there as well. So it's a bit of a raging battle for what is going to be sort of 4th to 11th place. Absolutely nothing in it between those cars, and we are only, what are we, not even 4 minutes into the race.
Yeah, and we still got 36 minutes to go. We got a long way to go. Just looking down the timesheets, Michael Steven down in 20th position. He's moved up 6 positions. We're on board with Stuart White. He's lost a position at the start of the race. They're going through the data sciences dipper. Such a tricky part of this circuit. You really have to have your wits about you. Drop down very, very hard on the brakes, and then of course going through the Forest elbow. Can that Aston Martin get behind Lorenzo Galtieri? No, he seems to be quite far away, but Galtieri right in the back of McCall. So McCall under proper threat. We're going to have to see if anything happens going into Murray's corner. They're going to the chase at the moment, and if he gets a really good exit over here, we'll see what happens. Yes, right on the back of Jordan Sherritt.
What a mistake! A big mistake there from Morgan McCall. McCall's gone onto the sideline and clapped into one of those barriers. Let's have a look at it from the top end here. He makes a big mistake going out of it. It's Sherritt, actually. It's Jordan Sherritt. I thought it was McCall, but it's actually Jordan Sherritt. He makes a massive mistake. He drops right behind now. That is the Porsche of Devin Leisha. So Zaya Esser now leads out big time. And Leisha's moved up to second, Sherritt to third, and here comes Van Rensburg. Look out for the big move coming from that lime green machine as he heads up onto the top of the mountain. They're heading towards Griffin's Bend off the NEC straight, and the mountain straight is showing some big power and a big mistake there from Jordan Sherritt. That could be costly.
Well, Greg, also you mentioned it, in this kind of endurance racing, the more you crash the cars, eventually they do start affecting the handling. So Jordan Sherritt had a big off there at the moment, under huge presses from Van Rensburg in that Bentley. And we saw him drive a superb drive in the first final this evening. So Sherritt's going to have to really get himself contained. The pit window is now open for the next half an hour. On board with Van Rensburg, a little tap on the brakes there from Sherritt. So feeling the pressure of that Bentley behind him. Going down the data sciences dipper. I love this part of the Mount Panorama circuit. Just fantastic. Those cameras on the side of the track as well. So big pressure for Sherritt. Now, can Leisha do anything about Zahir Esser? Because that that Mercedes has got quite a lot more grunt than the Porsche.
Yeah, well, the Porsche's the meat and the sandwich at the moment, and looks like, as we heard a little bit earlier on there from Jordan, the Porsche might not have been a bad plan. Devin Leisha might have snuck in there with a little secret horse to go and play with, and we'll wait and see if that's going to pay off at the end of this one. The pressure right now is coming from Van Rensburg. A little bit further back, you can see Leslie Olifant also trying to make his way through as he looks to Van Coller just ahead of him in the Lexus, and Van Coller is applying pressure onto Van Wyk, who's, of course, in the white Mercedes with the Cobra stripe down the left-hand side. So basically some fun and games as they head now down to the last corner, Murray's corner. And looks like Olifant having a look, has a little squiz, doesn't quite go with him. Wade Claessen's just tucked in behind Leslie Olifant, waiting for him to go. I think if Olifant goes, Claessen's will go with him. And not too far off the back end of them comes Chris Shorter, Devin Piazzamuso, and Nico Rutz. So this battle here, which is, of course, now for 8th place, could almost be an 8-car battle for that position.
Yeah, unbelievable. Going through Hell Corner, going up and building up to the top into Griffin Bend. And here we have Leslie Olifant diving down the inside of Van Coller. I think he's got the line. He should be able to make it stick as we stay on board with him. He has made it stick. Fantastic. And our cameraman getting a little bit more excited than we are at the moment. But great pass there from Leslie Olifant. Brilliant driving. It looks like Van Coller is going to lose another place as well. Yeah, Quade Claessens has got through as well. It's incredible how if all of a sudden somebody comes past you and you start losing your concentration and people start coming past you left, right and center. So brilliant pass there from Leslie Olifant.
Sash, have a look at Ulrich Enselen applying pressure. No, not Ulrich Enselen, I beg your pardon. It's Nico Rutz applying pressure. Same colors as Ulrich. I thought it might have been the Ferrari, but it's actually the other Bentley out there. He's putting big pressure onto Devin Piazzamusso. Piazzamusso made a small mistake coming into the first part of Salmon Park. And as they came in there, he was just a little bit out of shape, which allowed Roots to close in on him. Now Roots looking for a chance to squeeze by. Has he been able to do that? And just in the background, if you're not too worried, look out for the red, white, and blue. Ulrich Ensslin is in 16th place. He's got 3 cars before he gets up into this little battle that we've been concentrating on for the last couple of laps. They head down onto that Afrihost Conrad Straight, pushing it as hard as they can. The Ferrari trying to get into the back end of that slipstream. We've heard from Jordan Pepper earlier on how important the slipstream is, and it does affect these cars, even in virtual reality here on the sim racing.
Yeah, and we're watching Ulrich Ensslin as we see the Bentley get past the Mercedes, and Ensslin takes the big long slot, picks up a place there as well. It was just strategic driving, watching the 2 guys in front of him battle it out, and now they're going to Murray's corner. Another position made up for Ulrich Ensslin, going to go defensive because he knows he's got that Mercedes grunt, but he gets past the Bentley as well. They're going to go into Hell corner, and it looks like Enslin's taken that position, and is the Mercedes going to follow him? Oh, the Bentley runs a little bit wide, and a dive out there, I think, from the Lexus. So, man, is this unbelievable driving at the moment. And Ensslin, all of a sudden, picked up 2 positions in 3 corners. Oh, the Mercedes goes off. Huge smash. Takes out himself and the Lexus as well. And
I think that was actually Basson in the Audi. Basson in the Audi being taken out there by the mistake from Leon van Wyk. Van Wyk making a big mistake, getting it out of shape. We'll probably get an action replay of that. Here they come. It's the Ferrari leading things out as they head up onto the NEC Mountain Straight. Watch for the Mercedes-Benz. He comes across on the Audi. I don't think he sees him, and then all of a sudden just gets a tag. The Audi definitely tagged the back end of the Mercedes-Benz, and then just goes sliding across. So the protagonist there was not actually Van Wyk in the Mercedes. It was the Audi. A little tap on the back, put the Mercedes-Benz out of shape, allows Charles Wilkin to squeeze through there as well in the Hulk colors, as he heads up to the top of the hill once again. But definitely some action there, big time, between Van Wyk and I think the Audi there was of Basson.
Well, I tell you, Greg, you mentioned our stewards who are volunteering their positions. They got a lot of work to have a look out here as well. So yes, looking very comfortable at the front at the moment. Got an extended lead over Devon, Elisha, Jordan Sherritt down in 3rd. We got Van Rensburg, McCall, Galtieri, Stuart White. And at the moment, still very dry conditions. The pit window is still open for the next 25 minutes. So don't expect anything for at least another 10 or 15 minutes before they're going to have to start going in and changing their rubber. And it all depends also what the weather does, as Zahir Esak making his way up onto one of the back markers as well. Hopefully they'll get the blue flags and we'll move out of the way.
Yeah, that's exactly what they need to do as they come up on those back markers. They'll be watching for those blue flags, for waving frantically to warn the slower drivers that the quicker cars are coming. It's incredible to think that we've only completed 5 laps, Sash, and we're coming into back markers. Didn't quite expect to see that with a big field of 30 cars on such a long circuit. I thought it would take a lot longer for them to close in, but we have had some big incidents in the mid-pack, which have changed up things dramatically. Just picking up on a few other drivers that we're seeing coming through there as Mark van Rensburg hits to the top of the hill, closing on the back end of Sherritt, trying to find a way through still on him. Hasn't quite done that yet. And I know that we had a comment coming from Facebook saying, can we go to the lead? Because it was only a small margin, but that margin has picked up dramatically. We did pick up on the lead action, and that's when Sherritt made a mistake. So thanks for you guys for picking up on that. We are watching that all the time, though, guys. And we're trying to do as much as we can to keep the entertainment flowing here. Looking at pit windows opening up, looking at messages coming from Facebook, from social media, from our ground crew, from our back office crew. So it's a busy day in the office here for Sash and I, but we will try and ensure that everything gets done accordingly. First pit stop by the looks of things, Bruno Cadelia coming in. An early pit stop, first man in there. Is this a strategy that he might want to use? We've got a couple of other guys in there. Julian Familiaris is in pits as well. So is Basson. So is Kleb. 4 cars in at the same time. The pit window says on the top there, pit window open for 22 minutes now. So that pit window has been taken. First car making its way back out onto the track, out of the pits as well. Julian Familiaris will be following him. It was the white car. I'm not quite sure who was in that white car. As we went to action on the track, the car was leaving, so I didn't get a number on it. But certainly the pit window is now open, and we've got 4 cars who've gone in early there, Sash, to possibly use that as a bit of their strategy.
Yeah, very much so, Greg. Sorry, I had to just reset there because my commentary comms went a little bit down. Looks like Brunus Cadilia, who's gone into the pits. We're still on board with Mark van Rensburg. I tell you, I've been so impressed with this guy driving in that Bentley. He's really pushing Jordan Sherritt and doing a superb job. And those who have gone in early for the pits, Greg, you know, don't forget those tyres would have been used in the qualifying, so they're really trying their best. Stuart White pushing really hard on Lorenzo Gautieri, so Stuart finding his rhythm, and right behind them they've got Quade Classes as well. So there's racing all over the place, although I've got to say Zaire Essa looking pretty comfortable in the front.
Yeah, 4.5 second lead at the stage for Essa, so we're not going to concentrate too much on him. He's got to just try and ensure that he keeps it all together and makes the pit stop at the ideal time, so he doesn't lose ground, he doesn't lose position. That's not always an easy thing to do when you're dealing with 30 other cars on track, or 29 of them that you've got to fight against. As we go up over the top here through the Data Sciences dipper and down towards Forest Elbow, this is where I think the Aston Martin has got a slight advantage, and you can see just how hard he's pushing there to close things down on the Mercedes-Benz. Although when they get onto the straight, that Conrad straight, the big Merc comes in, and of course the top end speed of the Mercedes-Benz, as we heard earlier on from Luc Lachesi, is arguably the car to be in when you want the top end. And this is the point that we want to see as they come out of that little left-hand kink, I should say, and onto the Conrad straight. It's everything she's got there in 6th gear. Further back now, we're picking up on also a driver closing in on White. Watch out for Quade Claessens. So a bit of an Aston Martin sandwich there, the two Mercedes-Benz either side. And now Stuart White doesn't only have to go on attack, he's also going into defense, because Claessens is applying that pressure big time.
Yeah, I tell you, Claessens came out of the elbow unbelievably quick and really got onto the back of Stuart White. Stuart White's just gone into the pits. So Stuart White's gone into the pits. And yeah, this is great now. We can actually stay on board with him and watch his pit stop as well. I'll get the stopwatch out and see how quick he is. So he's dropping down. He's dropped now 4 positions, but he's going to have fresh rubber when he gets out. These pit stops, I think, are going to be quite a lot of fun to watch. Of course, they have to slow down dramatically down to 60 kilometers an hour in the pit lane. And let's see what happens. Another car comes into the pits as well.
No, Judd just going straight through the back end of Stuart White there. That's artificial intelligence. Don't worry, that doesn't happen in real life. The two of them coming in for their official pit stop. Can we go on board with them, Brent, as a matter of interest? Just to see what's happening there with Stuart White, if we can. Okay, so it doesn't actually show the actual tyre changes there. I thought we might be able to get that. According to what I saw earlier on in one of the chats we were having a bit earlier on the group, it said that we could possibly see those tyre changes. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to. Let's get back up to the top, though. This is where the action is, though, Sash. There is some big action about to happen here as Van Rensburg is putting massive amounts of pressure, more than ever before, on the back end. It's a battle of the ones here, 11 versus 1, and the man who was quickest in the top 100, and of course is a bit disappointed with his performance in the first of these grand final ones, will be looking possibly now to change things around. He did take the win, but he was under big pressure. He's not in the lead at the moment. He's only in 3rd with Van Rensburg right there.
Yeah, I got to say, just coming out of the dipper and into that final Forest Elbow, the Bentley was just a little bit too far away, ran a little bit ragged, and that's given a little bit of breathing space to Sherritt in front of him. But Van Rensburg, maybe those tyres are going off. Let's see if he actually peels off into the pits. No, he doesn't, and he's going to go for another lap. He really has to get the exit out of the Forest Elbow spot on if he has a chance to pass that Mercedes down the long Apri-Host Conrad straight.
Incredible driving coming out of Devin Elisha, though, I've got to say. It's a massive turnaround for him, because if you look at the way he went in the semis and, of course, in the lead up to the semifinals, wasn't really in contention at all. And certainly was a man that we didn't sort of tout as a possibility of being at the front end, finishing 49th in the top 100. Now sitting 2nd here in the money race. Whew, who would have thought that?
We're on board. Chris Shorter is up in 10th place, but that also is subject to pit stops as well. But a very, very solid drive. He's in the Bentley, pushing really hard in those beautiful maroon colors. He's got Leon van Wyk in front of him. And, well, maybe that on-track experience should help him as they climb up the hill and make their way, of course, through the very, very tricky. Oh, you can see he's pushing as hard as possible, Greg, trying to find a way past Van Wyk in front of him.
Yes, indeed. And there's nothing in it here. This is what I love about the circuit. We spoke about it ad nauseum here, is the fact that I think Geordie put it in a very good way. A street circuit with a sort of high-speed aspect to it, slapped onto the side of a mountain. And all I can think of, big mistake.
That's a huge mistake.
Big mistake from Van Wyk. Van Wyk gets it out of shape. Short has been gifted that position, and Van Wyk is stuck. He loses another 2 positions now. Can he get going again? Have a look at that. Coming out of the Data Sciences dipper, he gets it all wrong. The magenta Aston Martin goes past him. So does the Lexus, and so does Devon Piazzamusso. So I think Charles Wilkin may have even got through on him as well. And here comes another car hounding him at the back end. That might be the Audi of Heineken, and I think Heineken's got through too. There's definitely an issue on Van Wyk's Mercedes-Benz. He might have to get into the pits and see if he can sort that out. Look at that. The windscreen is shattered on Van Wyk's car.
The windscreen shattered. The whole front is, it's going to be incredibly difficult to drive. But that just shows pressure, Greg. You know, he's looking in his rearview mirrors, watching where Chris Shorter was all of the time. One little mistake, and that gifted that place to Shorter. But just brilliant driving to a 9th position. So that's his fastest lap at the moment. It's about as quick as Sherritt was going. So, you know, this fresh rubber, have they made the right call? Did they go in a little bit earlier? And the reason why Van Rensburg has gotten out of ahead of Leisha is the pit stop, Greg. 8-second difference between Van Rensburg and Leisha. Unbelievable.
It certainly looks like it's easier to get the wheels off on a Bentley than it is on a Porsche. Coming into pit lane now, that is Zaesa starting to get his pit strategy into play. Our lead car is in the pits as he rolls in there. Just watch out for Gary Fumata on the wall there. We saw him, of course, at Silverstone. Maybe he's made his way down under here as well. I did pick him up on the pit wall the other night. But here we go, into pit lane. And, of course, you won't see it from the outside, unfortunately. There's probably a setting that we haven't hit there. There is an opportunity to see how the tyre change happens while they're on board. This is a really cool onboard as well. We're on board here with Essa, if I'm not mistaken. So Zaire Essa looking straight into the back end there of, I think, JC Krobler. And that's the second of the Hondas, who's just ahead of him there, also coming in at the same time. One thing I wanted to pick up on, which you don't really see in Essa's car here, having chosen the Mercedes-Benz, when we saw Olifant and Michael Stevens' car, the Aston Martin, they've actually got sort of a small screen as a rear view mirror as opposed to an actual mirror in the car. So maybe we can pick it up on the Bentley. I don't know if we can go on board here as this Bentley comes in. That's Nico Rutz. No, he's got the normal rear view mirror in there, you can see. Yeah, it's a standard rear view mirror. But a couple of them run those screen mirrors. You can actually see it on his dash. You can see it on the dashboard there. He's got the rear view mirror and he's got a dash-mounted camera too, which has got those rear cameras on it. So he's able to see what's happening behind him in the rear view mirror as well as on his dashboard. Exactly as it is in the real race cars. It's amazing the detail that they get into.
Yeah, Sherritt is now in the lead. Essa, I think his stop was a little bit slower, and I got to tell you that Honda seems to have been there for ages. Some people who pit stops have really hindered them. Stuart White, who was up into 5th position, down in 17th. Vulcan has done a superb job. He's up into 15th. And when they go into the pits as well, if there's damage to the car, Greg, it will get repaired. So that's why some of these pit stops could be a little bit longer as well. So the gap, Sherritt to front is 12 seconds. And waiting for Essa to come across the line.
The guys that go in with damage will be in there for a little bit longer because it takes that while longer to repair the car and get the tyre change done at the same time. If they don't repair the car, it's a risk they take. And, of course, with the length of the race of 13 minutes still to go, if you're going to have to do that pit stop, you might as well take that extra 4 or 5 seconds to allow the computer and your PC setup to do the running repairs on the machine so you can get out with the optimum performance available with what you've got left. We've got 2 cars still to pit there.
Huge crash.
And a big crash coming out there. Oh, that was a huge one. Looks like a little bit of sideways action that we'll try and pick up on the action replay. But I was about to say, there's only 2 cars still left to pit. One is Leslie Olifant, one is Jordan Sherritt. So once those 2 have pitted, everybody has gone through the mandatory 1 pit stop and tyre change required.
Yeah, I tell you, this is going to come down to the wire. We've only got 12 and a half minutes to go. All of these guys who maybe were anticipating rain, I don't think it's going to come. Our radars say that the sun is going to be there. Quite a few. Olifant is in the pits. He's dropped down one position. So now we have to see. There's a 37 gap between Sherritt in the lead, Essa in second place. We've got to wait to see when Sherritt is actually going to.
Essa took about a minute in the pit lane there, Sash, according to what we're hearing. So about a minute there to get his repairs done and his tyre change, which could be a good idea for him. Leslie Olifant is in the pits as we speak and about to exit. So I think Essa might overtake him due to the fact that he went in a little bit earlier. The only man who has not pitted yet is this man coming towards us, Jordan Sherritt. We expect him to peel into pit lane at any stage now because he's coming into traffic. And if you look at the way any of these races happen around the world where pit stop strategies have to come into play, if you find yourself getting into traffic, it's probably a good idea to dive in. And it's exactly what Shorter and Sherritt have done. Shorter and Sherritt coming in. You can see inside there JC Krobler, and it looks like Julian Familiar is still stuck in pit lane as well. I don't know if Brendan can just move that the timing monitor up there. I'm not sure if those two have retired because they've been in there for a long, long time. We can just move it up there, Brendan, see if the bottom of the 23 to 30. Rob Whiting is in pit lane, according to what we see there. Krobler is in there. Familiaris is in pit lane. That's definitely the blue and yellow car that he was in. But I don't see Shorter's in there too. Whiting and Krobler. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's an issue on those two cars because they've dropped down 4 laps and 3 laps each, which is not ideal. So potentially Krobler and Rob Whiting, those two cars that are parked in the pit lane just ahead there of Jordan Sherritt. It's the white Honda and the blue and yellow Mercedes-Benz. Those two could have retired. So getting back to race action now and heading towards Hull Corner, turn 1. Is just putting the fastest lap of the race, and I think he's about to overtake Jordan Sherritt, if I'm not mistaken, because Sherritt is still in pit lane. So I'm not quite sure why that's turned around. It does say Zahir SA1, but it hasn't come up on the timing board yet, but I think he's got to go through the next timing beam before it corrects itself. Essa should be leading, and if he's got it all right, not according to the timing monitor though, so I'm not quite sure how this is working out. It's not quite Sherritt's just come out of pit lane, so he's definitely Essa's parking in pit lane. I don't know why the timing hasn't corrected there, Brent. Maybe you want to just double check that for us if you don't mind. But I would say certainly, there we go. Essa is into the lead as we speak. Van Rensburg is second. Leisha is third. And Sherritt and Claessens go side by side up to the top of the mountain. And coming out on new rubber, it's going to take about half a lap to get that Pirelli up to optimum temperature. But Jordan Sherritt's not even worried about that. He gets around Craig Claessens. Craig Claessens now trying to get it back to him as quickly as he got overtaken. That's the idea. Lorenzo Gottelli just behind that with Olifant all over the back of him. So 2 by 2, they head up to the top of the hill. There's the second battle just in the background. But you can see Jordan Sherritt now pulling slightly away there from Craig Claessens. He's got the pressure. The pressure's on though, big time from Olifant. Olifant looking for a way through on Gottelli. Lorenzo Gottelli is absolutely being hounded by the back end there. And that absolutely incredible little Honda, the nimble little Honda NSX, is showing the big might of AMG that it's a fellow compatriot. They used to be stablemates, of course, at one stage, Honda and Mercedes-Benz, but now completely different as they come down into the bottom end of the circuit and off the mountain. He has a big squeeze coming out of Forest Elbow and now through the left-hand kink to get onto the Afrio straight. This is where the Honda, we spoke about it in his interview, instead it's got a little bit of extra pace, but against the Mercedes-Benz, they're going to be very evenly matched in terms of top end. Under the Pirelli bridge and down towards the Pure Storage chase. He's on the chase. Oh, and look at how the car starts to swirl under braking. Good defensive driving coming out of Lorenzo Gottelli. Saw the Honda coming and just placed the car right. Not a bad option to be in as they head down towards the final corner, Murray's corner. And on the braking point, once again, placing the car in the middle of the circuit. Not giving an opportunity to overtake just yet, but Olifant might just be hanging in there and looking for a chance later on. We got 7 or just under 8 minutes to go. Jordan Sherritt in the pits for about 1 minute 20. I'm not quite sure where Sash has gone. Maybe he's just gone to reboot. I know sometimes the systems kick out here as well. But Jordan Sherritt with a 1 minute 20. It's one of the longest pit stops we've had. That was, of course, due to that big incident we saw with him earlier on where he took out some of the the braking banners and hit the wall coming down towards Murray's Corner, the final turn. He's heading up into the true race cutting section of the circuit. As they come through there's Audi braining all over the side as the Mercedes-Benz makes its way up the hill. He's pulled away ever so slightly there from Craig Claassens. Lorenzo Gualtieri is ahead of Leslie Oliphant and maintains the lead over Leslie Oliphant. McCall just behind that. And Ulrich Ensslin now, for the first time in the Ferrari, up into the top 10. So with 7 minutes to go, I think he's too far back to do anything and give my good friend Sash a bit of a Ferrari podium. He was looking to do that. There he is, heading out of the true race cutting corner, up through Reed Park and Quarry Corner, then into Frog Hollow. And as he comes up to the top end, he'll go through McPhillamy Park and up to Skyline. As he comes to the Skyline, he starts the S's and into the Data Sciences dipper. There he is, dipping into the dipper, but right on his tail, have a look out. It's the Ghost Bash. Bashir Jadwat is in the house in 10th place, closing in on the Ferrari of Ensslin and looking to take away that last single-digit number in the overall standings. A big battle expected there. Michael Stephen further back there, just behind them. And I wonder if he's able to bridge the gap there to the Ferrari and to Jadwat in the Audi. It'll be interesting to see whether those two can be caught and possibly hounded at the end for the final single digits there by Michael Stephen. But I think Stephen is just too far back. He's looking at about 3 seconds to make up there. In fact, 3.5 seconds to make up on Jadwat and Ensslin as they come into the Pure Storage Chase. Out of Pure Storage Chase now, they head into Murray's Corner, the final corner here at this incredible Mount Panorama circuit, the home of the Bathurst 1000, and now, of course, the home of the NEC Solidarity E-Race. Across the line and down into Hull Corner, Bashir Jadwat applying pressure onto Ensslin. Ensslin hanging in there and soaking the pressure up. Just ahead of them, they can see McCall. It must be an absolutely awesome. Bit further up. Oh, here's a move. Oliphant looking for a chance. And he just can't squeeze out Gualtieri. Lorenzo Gualtieri is a master at placing the car in just the right position. He spent a lot of time in the BMW Car Club Racing Series. He's also spent some time in some big V8s and, of course, in that magnificent Extreme Supercar that he races now in the G&H Transport Racing Series with the Extreme Supercars. Is he going to be able to keep off and fend off the attentions here of Leslie Oliphant? Oliphant seemed pretty confident to be in the Honda. He thought it might be the right steed to be in. It's not quite the right steed, but it's certainly a top 10 contender as they come down into the dipper. They start the S's and dip into the Data Services dipper. It's a little squirt down and into another little left, right, before they get into Forest Elbow. Out of the Forest Elbow they come. You see those beautiful gum trees on the sideline there. Fortunately, no koalas in those gum trees at this stage. They'll probably be chased away and scared away by the amount of noise that's happening here at Mount Panorama. But there's good slipstream. That's great slipstream. Can he put it into practice? He pulls out using the slipstream, under braking. Oh, he hits the curb. Oh, that's a big one. He hits the curb and gets it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He spins around, loops it out, just clipping the curb through there. Oh, what a pity there for Leslie Oliphant. But here comes Morgan McCall. McCall might make him pay as well. Let's have a look at the replay. They head down that very fast straight, as you heard from Jordan, 260, 270 k's an hour. As they come over the little rise under the Pirelli Bridge, he comes out of the slipstream. Perfect timing. He looks to get on the brakes early, but just has the door shut on him, gets over the curb, and that curb just puts him into the spin. And that's what it looks like. Wow! 360, 720, 900. What is it, Tony Hawk in this car? He's going for the 900. There he is, Leslie Oliphant, back on track. Didn't quite work out for him, though, as you can see. Not quite the way we want to be going. Back on board here with Zaire Essa, the man who leads things out at this point in time with probably 2 laps to go. And of this 40 minutes has gone so quickly, unbelievably how quick it's gone. Essa looking at probably about a lap and a half, in fact. Jordan Shirt is down in 4th place. I don't even know if he's going to be able to get onto the podium. And the way he's driving, he's ripping the rubber off those Pirellis, trying to close down on Lasha. But Lasha is 7 seconds up the road. I don't think there's enough time for Jordan Shirt to get through there. And, yeah, that's not what you wanted to do. He's just done a 2-minute dead lap on the last part, so he's definitely pushing. But 2-minute dead means that the other drivers have to be doing at least 2-minute 10s. I don't think Devin Lasha's doing 2-minute 10s. He's probably being in the 201s, 202 bracket, which means he's just off the pace. And here he comes, 2025, not too bad, hey? I think I've done this a couple of times. So 2025 there from Devon Leisha. He'll be looking 3 seconds over a lap and a half. Don't think that's going to be enough to close down the 6 seconds he's got. Don't think it's going to happen. You can see him just up the road there. Devon Leisha in the red. We'll try and get the two of them in the same shot if we can. Maybe we can go to the aerial shot if there's a possibility. Get Clint work for us as they come down into Murray's Corner. They've just come out of Pure Storage Chase, and I think this will be the penultimate lap that they start. Jordan Sherritt, or 2 to go. Possibly, no, it'll definitely be 2 to go because I think Zaire is halfway up the mountain already. Here's the recovering Leslie Oliphant. He's now back into the clutches of Bashir Jadwat. Jadwat closing down on him in the red and white Audi. Jadwat will definitely look to try and get ahead of Leslie Oliphant and make up another position. He probably would have seen that incident and seen the spinning car and realizing that Oliphant might be a bit rattled. If he just applies a bit of pressure, he might be able to get that rattle to roll again and hopefully not roll the car, but get ahead of him. Ghost Bash closing down on Oliphant right now, looking for a chance to possibly move up one more position in the single digits. He has outgunned Ulrich Enslin and got through on the Ferrari, and Enslin is still stuck in 10th place. Top 10 for the Ferrari and for the man who won the very first Solidarity E-Race at Kyle Army only a couple of weeks ago. They head up towards the True Race cutting. And out of True Race cutting, it then sends them through the big right-hand sweep at Quarry. Have a look at this. This is a great aerial shot. There's the right-hand sweep, Quarry corner. Lots of support on the sidelines here. You can see them also doing the social distancing there. Lots of gaps between the audience on the side. I love that. Thank you, guys. We do appreciate that. It's all part and parcel of the Solidarity Fund that we're looking after here. We want to stick with what the president has told us to do. I don't see a lot of masks out there, but maybe we just can't pick that up from the aerial shot. Maybe we'll get up close and personal with them later. As they come down, Morgan McCall is being closed down, though. Morgan McCall is not out of harm's way there. Oliphant and Jadwat are closing down on McCall. The two Bentleys at each other's throats as well. This is a great little battle. Henbury and Piazza Musso heading down into Dynamic, the data services dipper as they come through there. Brilliant stuff. That's awesome. That's like formation flying from those two. Similar livery on the car, so they probably went with the same two team cars, and similar livery means that they're going to be formation flying to the checkered flag. Our leader has, I think, started his final lap. Yes, he has. He started the final lap as we see Henbury coming out, and Van Rensburg, I should say, coming out. Here he comes. Zahir Essa, almost 4 or 5 corners up the road there from Van Rensburg in the Bentley. He's pushed exceptionally well. I don't know if Sasha's back with us just yet, but that's a man that Sasha was definitely saying was a man to watch out for. Devon Leisha hanging on for 3rd place. So we're going to have 3 different manufacturers on the podium. Mercedes-Benz, Bentley, and Porsche. Those are the 3 cars that were touted to be the ones to win at this event. And whether or not that's going to be the case, we'll wait and see. Half a lap to go now for Zahir Essa. He was, of course, a man who finished up high in the first one, just losing out there in the closing stages to an incredible drive out of Ulrich Enslin. But this time round, he has definitely been the man to beat. You heard it from Sasha earlier on. He did say that this would be the rose amongst the thorns, or is it the thorn amongst the roses? It depends on which side of that rose bush you stand on. At this point in time, he is absolutely high-flying with not another car in sight. He's got 11.2 second lead, and he can literally roll from there to the line and still take the win. Up through the tricky bits and the twisty bits, up through Frog Hollow and into Salmon Park. Turn 10 at McPhilly Park. It's a tight battle there. McCall has definitely been caught. Oliphant is on the back end of Morgan McCall. McCall is going to be in a bit of trouble there from Oliphant and Jadwat. We'll get back to that one in a few minutes' time as we're going to just take the leader to the line. And the winner of the NEC Global Solidarity E-Race 2.0, the second version that we've done, Zahir Essa has gone from 2nd to 1st. He's gone 1 better than he did at Kyle Army. And there is a very, very happy man as he crosses the line and takes 12,000 Rand from AfriHost, as well as that 1 gig of LTE and router. Back to McCall. Here they come. This is the battle for 6, 7, and 8. McCall across the line. There is Henbury. Van Rensburg, I beg your pardon. Van Rensburg takes 2nd place. Leisha comes through in 3rd, just behind him there in the Porsche. And now back to that battle between McCall. McCall coming to the line. Is it going to be Oliphant or McCall? There they come. They come out of the final corner. Pure Storage Chase. Down towards... This is going to be so close. Murray's Corner. Look for the dive off the inside. Bashir Jadwat just too far back. Oliphant is right there, but look at McCall going defensive. He hangs on. He's going to beat them to the line. 7th place is McCall. 8th place is Olifant, and 9th place is Jadwat, with the Ferrari coming through there to make up the top 10 of Ulrich Ensslin. And there you go, a little endo into the back of them, and that's how you do it at the end of a sim race. There's no victory lap. There's no honor in the victory. It's literally slam into your mate at the end of this one and have some fun, and then reset and back into pit lane. So congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed that one. We certainly did. I'm hoping I can get Sasha back in here with me to take us through the last part here. Looks like he might have had a little bit of issues at home with his Wi-Fi and fiber. It looks like it's gone down. But what a drive there. Zahir Essa taking the win, and an incredibly fantastic drive. Perfect strategy from him as well. Mark van Rensburg comes through for second. He also did a great drive, and a good pit stop there. Certainly helped him out in the Bentley. And Devin Leisha, who would have thought, 49th in our official qualifying over the week. He then stepped it up and came through to change things up ever so slightly, and of course finished up looking for a chance to come from 16th place in the sprint race, and now is on the podium. So you can see, you never give up in motorsport. That's how it all works. Wow, that is an absolutely amazing finish to what has been an amazing event again here with NEC Solidarity E-Race. Pure Storage, AfriHost, Data Sciences, and True Race must be exceptionally happy. I certainly am. I cannot believe the kind of action we've seen over the last couple of days and over the last couple of weeks, and certainly long may this continue. It is an amazing event, and definitely something we want to keep going. I know that we've spoken about the fact that this is a couple of one-off events, but amongst the drivers and amongst the people that and the powers that be in the world of sim racing and e-racing, we certainly have rattled some cages, and we've opened up some opportunities that have never been there due to the fact that we've brought on the kind of sponsors that we've had and the type of racing we've done as well. A couple of guys were a bit concerned about the configuration of the races and how we've done it. But of course, every time we want to do something like this, we're going to change up that configuration completely. We're not going to do it the same as everybody else. Why must we? If we get the kind of figures that we do, we get the kind of engagement and interaction and impressions on social media that we've had over the last couple of weeks, it's the way to go forward. And certainly while we're in lockdown, the entertainment value is right up there. I know that our team at EFX in the background are working frantically to possibly bring in some kind of television aspect to this as well. That will up the game even more. So here, Essa, Van Rensburg, Leisha, ahead of Sherritt, Claessens, Lorenzo Gotteri, Morgan McCall, Olifant, Bashir Jadwat, and Ulrich Ensslin. Michael Stephen eventually finished up in 11th, just out of the top 10. An amazing effort from him. Charles Wilkin, those two drivers, remember, started at the back of the pack in the back 20 and made it up just outside the top 10. Stuart White finishes in 13th. Devin Piazza Musso in 14th. Henry in 15th. Luchesi, the pole man from the sprint race, in 16th place, ahead of Langeveld, Bruno Cadilia, and Julian Familiaris. Diovolt Brummer ahead of Etienne Kleb, Nico Ritz, Christopher Heineke, and Christos Besson. If I look at that top 10 and just to quickly run through it, we've got 1, 2, 3, and 3 of the top 10 coming out of real racing, 7 of them coming out of the gaming. But if we look at the top 15, we then go to 4, 5, 6. Top 15, it's an even split. 7 out of 15 of the real racing world, and 8 out of 15 coming out of sim racing. So that's a very even split amongst the top 15 drivers here in the NEC Solidarity E-Race. Wow, that was brilliant. I am absolutely blown away. I mean, every single time we've done one of these, we say it can't get better, and I think it just gets better and better every single time we do it. So once again, we've got to say a massive thank you to, of course, all of our sponsors, the headline sponsor, NEC Global, and to Francois Remy Monnier and his team, a massive thanks for the continued support of our ventures into the e-racing format. Continued support from Pure Storage, and great to chat to Alex last night from Pure Storage all the way in Ireland, and AfriHost, of course, on board as always as our cash and data sponsor for the prize money for tonight. Data Science Corporation, we can't do it without you guys, and a big welcome and thanks also to the new sponsor for this one, True Race, and Werner Hinop and his team. So if we move into how things are going to be finishing up, I think there's a couple of slides that Brendan's going to put up for us just to run through how things have gone in terms of the prize giving. We did do the lucky draws earlier on today. So if you are watching and you were part of the 165 competitors that entered Remember, we've got 2,000 Rand prizes. That's 2 separate 1,000 Rand prizes to give away. That was part and parcel of our lucky draw. We've also got an incredible SCL travel bag and a Wink Promotions hamper to be given away here this evening too. So just standing by for that slide to come up. When it does, we'll give you the lucky winners there. There you see. The 500 Rand prize winners from the semi-finals were Bashir Jadwat, Luke Lashesi, Zahir Essa, and Lorenzo Gotteri. Congratulations to Neil Berger and Travis Faree. You guys are the 2 lucky winners of the 1,000 Rand prize in the lucky draw. Congratulations, Neil and Travis. And then down in the lucky draw, Jonathan Mahotsi has taken the SCL tribute bag, and Marcus Stein taking that 3,000 Rand Wink Promotions hamper, courtesy of Wink Promotions here in Alberton. Massive thanks to Paul Dreyer and to SCL for all of their support for the lucky draw. So there's our lucky draw and prize winners from last night, the 500 Rand each going to each of the semi-final winners there. And that is a fantastic effort. Remember, we've also got, of course, first place this evening to the sprint race for GF1. That goes to Jordan Sherritt. He'll be getting himself 300 gigs of LTE and router. And that, of course, will be going to him via the AfriHost team. They'll be getting that to him as soon as possible. So congratulations go out to him. Then we go to the plate final. And the plate final, of course, the 2,000 Rand first place goes to Jonathan Bentz. The 1,000 Rand second place prize goes to Franco Albertine. And 500 Rand going to Kieran Patterson for his third place in that incredible event. I know that Brendan's also probably be sending out a couple of the VMix calls to our top 3. Hopefully we can get them on the line as soon as possible to have a quick chat to them at their respective rigs and homes where they've been racing from. First place, Zahir Essa, 12,000 Rand and a gig of LTE and the router for 12 months. He's going to certainly be using that with the 3 kids at home and himself. They're going to be fighting to use devices on that very fast AfriHost supplied LTE and router. 7,000 Rand goes to Mark van Rensburg in the Bentley. And yes, Marky, I got to say, I was hoping you would get to the front because you were running the Irish colours there. So big up to you for running the Bentley at the front end. It would have been awesome to see that Bentley at the top. Can you imagine? We would have had a real Bentley winning in the real world with Jordan Pepper and his team. And he joined us this evening. A big thanks to him too for his insights during the plate final. Unfortunately, he couldn't stay with us. He had some other duties to get to. And then finally, in third place this evening, getting 3,500 Rand, it's Devin Leisha. An incredible drive from him too. So that's how it all works out in our NEC Global Solidarity E-Race here at the, well, what they call it, the Thunder from Down Under at the Bathurst 1000's home. And Mount Panorama certainly was a great choice of final track. Just waiting to get those interviews up and running. I've got to say also a massive thanks as we get into the thank yous. While we're waiting to get those drivers up onto, of course, VMix to have a chat to us in person. I've got to say a big thanks to going out to our backroom staff there, Jason Holden-Jones, Neil Marks, and Richard Raymond. And, of course, to Alan Patterson and Ryan Hill for joining them this evening as part of the race control and stewards. They've sorted out all the issues that have happened in between, which is why we had a couple of things to sort out between the plate final and the big final. And then, as always, to EFX in the background, my good friend Brendan Marseille and his team for all of the footage that you saw tonight. Yes, he was helped out a little bit by the artificial intelligence that comes with this game, but needless to say, you do need to know what to look for on a racetrack to ensure that we can bring you the action that he did. So hats off there to EFX and to Brendan Marseille for the effort that they put in. Looks like we're picking up on a couple of interviews there. Who's our first interview there with there, Brendan? Zahir S is in the house, my man!
Hey,
wow, dude!
Yeah,
from
sweet.
second to first, you're not messing around down under, are you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, I was hoping for a bit more of a battle. The sprint race was quite a lekker dice, and unfortunately, Jordan, he made a mistake and allowed me to get in front. And from there, it was just that AMG was on rails, so did what I did. Sorry, it wasn't more of a dice up front for the grand final, but I did what I needed to do.
I bet you're not sorry when I tell you that you've got 12,000 Rand and a gig's worth of LTE and router coming your way, courtesy of AfriHost.
Sweet, another router. Awesome.
Sash, you back with us, buddy?
I tell you, I don't know what happened to me, but everything went down and I missed the last couple of laps. But I called it from the set. I said, watch out for Zahir Essa in this race. Zahir, superb drive. Quite a lot of pressure, though, just to maintain concentration.
It was, especially with the chopping and changing of the weather. You really had to be on your toes with the tire pressures, the setup, where to put your braking points, things like that. Because one little meter mistake and you're in the wall, just like that. So I can't tell you how difficult it was. So congrats to everyone who survived that race, because it was difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, well done, well done.
Thank you.
So here, now that you've got through the second one and you've gone one better than the first one at Kyalami, what's your plans for the rest of lockdown? And are you going to be possibly moving out of the house by Friday on Workers' Day and going to work?
Well, the lockdown beard is still coming along. I plan on continuing with that, and that's all about the plans I got. I mean, I'm still working from home, so I'm busy during the days. But other than that, yeah, trying to survive this difficult period. And thanks to you guys for uplifting us guys a bit here, some races and real races, and putting us all together.
It's
we
wonderful
loved having
to
you
hear,
guys. Go ahead, Sash.
Yeah, just wonderful to hear. I just been fascinated over the last 2 weeks watching you guys, just hone your craft, the amount of skill, the amount of hours that goes into, getting the right kind of setup for these kind of races. What did you think of the Bathurst track?
It's great. Obviously, high risk, high reward. So even though I was out in front there, I was pushing hard, because you back off, you lose concentration a bit, or you think you're just cruising out front, and that's when it comes out to bite you. So it's really quite a unique track, and glad you guys put us on there.
Zahir, how awesome was it to sort of sit in Park Fermé and possibly catch up on some of the action in the B final? Something different we did this time, giving the other guys that sort of didn't make it at Kyalami a chance at a bit of sunshine as well. And they also had sunshine as opposed to what you guys had in the first heat with the rain. But another awesome little insight that we put in there came from Jordan Pepper. And of course, he's a man who's won at that circuit in real life.
Yeah, as I said, very tricky conditions. That sprint race was hectic. I'm actually so glad it wasn't raining in the grand final, because that would have been a real headache. But yeah, big ups to Jordan and whoever does this in real life. I mean, you cannot believe they sit and do that wall to wall for, the hours that they put in. So it's really unbelievable.
A final question from me, Zahir. When we knew that you guys had to do a mandatory pit stop, and we saw the Porsche go in before you. Then Jordan stayed out for a while. Had you practiced it? Were you confident how it was going to go?
I have. So, I mean, I've been on Zeta Corsa for a couple of months now. So I'm involved in other leagues as well, and we do pit stops there. So I'm quite familiar with it. Unfortunately, my pit stop did not go as well as planned. You have to perfectly position your car in the pit box, and then lifts the car up and does the tires. But I was slightly out, and then they dragged me this way, dragged me that way before lifting me up. But luckily, it didn't cost me in the end.
Well, Bud, we want to say congratulations once again on behalf of all the sponsors. We loved having you on board, and we certainly enjoyed the fact that you came from the real racing world and took on the boys and showed that the real racers can do it amongst the sim racers. I know you have a love for both, but of course, now that Sasha and I have a love for both, we also like to sort of stick to our original guns. And when a real racer of your caliber can step it up and show the sim racers that we can do it as well, it just polishes off what has been an incredible week.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm getting old, but I'm still trying. All these young guns practicing hours and hours a day. I just don't have that time. But I'm here for the enjoyment, and that's what it's about as well. So thank you guys.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to everyone for putting this together. These 2 races have been amazing.
Well, buddy, we wish you all the very best. Stay safe in the rest of lockdown. And lots of love to the fam. And we can't wait to see you guys trackside as soon as we get loose. and let loose again on the real black stuff.
Yep, hopefully I'll be back on the real black stuff soon. Cheers, guys.
Take care then, brother. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Zaire.
Well
Thanks
done,
for jumping
well
in with us.
done, Zaire.
Appreciate that. What a humble guy, Sash.
Just, wonderful. And I think, having that kind of temperament, Greg, just gives you a massive advantage over everybody else. You've got to be able to be cool and calm and collected. And that's exactly what he showed. And deserved winner of the NEC Solidarity E-Race. Well done.
Yeah, and exactly that. I mean, there were a couple of guys that were mouthing off and having a go at how the things had all been placed and put in plans. And it eventually doesn't work out. Sometimes you've got to just get out there and do the job, despite what you think is right and wrong. You can't arrive and dictate on how the rules are going to be. You've got to race to the rules. That's exactly what Zaire did. And in the end, came out on top. 12,000 Rand going into the little pocket there of him. He's going to be pretty stoked with that. But as I said, can you imagine the battle that's going to happen at home with his three youngsters and himself to use that incredible amount of data that's been supplied now, courtesy of AfriHost? Woo! It's going to be fun.
Oh, no, it's going to be fun. I mean, just the speed of everything that they're going to have now. Eh? All of them could be on their own racing simulators at the same time. So, yeah, just wonderful. I just got a cool message from Stuart White. He says, great event. Thanks for all of the cool stuff. Unfortunate final for me with a back marker making contact, but amazing time. So well done, Stewie. Great to have you on board, and if we do it in the future, let's hope that we have all of these guys there back as well when we do this again.
I'd love to get him back because, I mean, you remember that he's I think it's 5 of the 6 or 4 of the 5 of the 6 racetracks around South Africa are currently in the hands of Stuart White in terms of the outright lap record.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a great fan of his, as I am of so many of our South African races. But also, you talk of a humble guy. This is a really, really strong little kid.
Yeah, I'm the first man to say thank you always at any race day. He'll always pop up and come and say thanks for everything that we've said and done. And a very humble family he comes from as well. I love his mom and dad. And Dave in Bloemfontein, hope you enjoyed all the action and all of the entertainment we gave. And to Jean too. And please keep safe, guys. Lovely to hear from you guys. I believe we've got a next interview lined up there, Brendan. Are we waiting? Who are we waiting for?
Yeah, hopefully we've got somebody to have a chat to. But Greg, I missed the last sort of 8 minutes. Unfortunately, my whole network just collapsed around me. I had zero. I didn't have network from the mobiles. I didn't have fiber or anything. So, just talk me through the last couple of laps, if you don't mind. How it eventually came down.
Literally, the battle wasn't for first, second, and third. Those were kind of wrapped up. Zaire had about a 12-second lead over Mark van Rensburg, but of course, van Rensburg was the man that you also said was going to be at the front end in that magnificent Irish green Bentley. And then Devon Leisha in the Porsche came through rapidly then. He nearly closed down on the back end of Mark, but just managed to hang in there. The battle was just behind that, though. There was an incredible battle happening between Lorenzo Guarteri and the two Audis of Bashir Jadwat. Bashir Jadwat, I know that they're going back and forth here for a possible drive of the day, and it looks like there's a very good that it's done and dusted. He, of course, came all the way at if I want to just get this right, coming through from about 20-ish somewhere on the grid to finish up in 6th place, and of course also took one of our semi-finals. So I think it's not a bad call there to give the Ghost Bash driver of the day and the award that goes with that. No cash money or anything, but just of course, the honor of having what we would conceive as driver of the day. If I think Mark van Rensburg hadn't finished on the podium between you and I, that probably would have been our driver of the day.
Yeah, 100%. He came from 25th all the way up to 9th for Bashir. And also just shows you, in racing, Greg, you have to have that ability to take the good and the bad. And he didn't have a great first race, unfortunately. Started second on the grid and everything went haywire from there. Started 25th, pushes it up to 9th. Just shows you the caliber of the driver and also just his temperament in the ability to sit there and say, hey, that's past, Now we're into a new race. And, you know, for any aspiring sim racer or any aspiring racing driver, you've got to be able to let the past go and go forward to whatever situation you are in at the present.
Well, we're hoping to catch up with Mark van Rensburg and Devin Leisha, and possibly even with Bashir Jadwat. I know that Brendan's working frantically to bring them into VMix, and if we get them, Brendan, just let us know. But just once again, to reiterate the prize winners there, congratulations to Luke Leshesi, Bashir Jadwat, Essa, and Lorenzo Gotteri for their wins in the semi-finals. Jordan Sherritt took the sprint final. He will getting the 300 gigs of LTE and router, courtesy of AfriHost. First place in the plate final, Jonathan Bentz. Second place, Franco Albertine, and third place, Kieran Patterson. That's 2,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand, and 500 respectively for the top three there. We gave away our lucky entrance and our lucky draw prizes to the two winners of the 1,000 Rand each, and the SCL travel bag and the Wing Promotions hamper. Congratulations going out to them as well. I don't have that slide in front of me. Unfortunately, I don't have them written down, but they know who they are. And then, as I said, 12,000 Rand and a gig of LTE and router going to Zahir Essa. Mark van Rensburg in second place, and Devin Leisha. And I think, unfortunately, we're not have been able to get hold of those guys. So, Sash, from our side, just another massive thanks to the entire team backstage who have done a great job to bring us all this action. To Jason Holden-Jones, to Neil Marks, to Richard Raymond, to our two marshals tonight, Alan Patterson and Ryan Hill, and, of course, to our incredible producer / director / cameraman / aerial material provider, Brendan Marsay from EFX.
Yeah, 100%. You know, what a team it's been over the last 14 days working with everybody, Greg. Such a privilege, such an honor to be part of this. And also massive shout out to Ross Crichton, you know, who thought of this idea, put it all together. Just such a privilege to be part of it. And to all of the sim racers and racing drivers and everybody else who's gotten involved in terms of the racing, and those who've just logged on just to watch this and learn a little bit more about, I think, motorsport and, of course, about e-racing as well. It's just been such a wonderful, wonderful time. And to work with you again, as always, just such a pleasure, Greg. So thank you very, very much.
No, it's a big honor for me, buddy. You know, I take a lot of what you've done in your career, and I try and put it into practice myself. And it has certainly paid off in lots of dividends for me, having worked with you and worked for you, and having you work for me. It's all changed up at different venues in our careers. But to be side by side with this incredible NEC Solidarity race with you, Sash, has been really, really spectacular. So from our side, thank you too. Also want to just send a shout out to all of our fans, all the friends, all the likes, all the shares, all the interactions, all the impressions, all the video views, and of course all the engagements on social media. We do appreciate it. Don't stop, because the more you watch it, the more you go back and like and share it, the better it is for us, and the easier it is for us to put it all together again. So final thought from you, Sash?
Yeah, this has just been wonderful. I've really turned a corner when it comes to this e-racing. I have huge respect for all of these sim racers out there, and of course our normal racers who are out in the circuit. It's just been a tremendous fun to be involved with it, to watch all of the action, and to be part of it. And I really look forward to building it and being part of it in the future. And as much as we have it on our computer screens in front of us and with sim racing, let's hope that we can all survive through COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and you know, the contribution to the Solidarity Fund that we've made in these two events as well, you know, will hopefully go a long way. And let's hope that we can all get out in the sunshine and go and enjoy some real racing as well.
100%. I can't agree with you more. I think that's what we're going to do. Almost 50,000 Rand raised, and probably going to be a couple more as we get into a couple of late additions to that fund. But on behalf of the entire team here at NEC Solidarity E-Race, and for all those fans around the world, please keep watching. We'll probably be coming back in the very near future with another big event of this nature. On behalf of the team, though, guys, thank you so much for all of your support, and we will see you real soon. Take care then. Bye-bye now.